Hello, I'm the Doctor.
Hello, I'm the Doctor.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you are not.
I am the Doctor.
I'm a good doctor.
I'm a bad Doctor.
Yeah. Anyway. Happy birthday, Doctor Who. That's you.
Welcome, everybody, whatever time zone or time stream you're joining us from across the entire Who universe for our belated Doctor Who Day extravaganza. Yes, a live stream, a concentrated live stream of Doctor Who goodness about to hit you right between the eyes or the ears, or both, depending on where you are and how you're joining us for this edition of the show. Welcome back to the Spacebook, the best channel that you'd never heard of. And Type 40 Live, our live stream content, Doctor Who content, just for you from the makers of the Type 40 podcast. With me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. And all my friends and companions, they're going to be along in a moment. And everybody there watching on YouTube or Facebook in the Type 40 Facebook group. Hello, everybody over in the Facebook group. And everybody on YouTube too, the world's largest streaming platform. Good to have you all here. Hope you still have your party hats on. We're a little bit late for Doctor Who Day itself, but this is timey-wimey Doctor Who, isn't it? Let's dive in and see who we've got. Who's here on the clock, early doors for Type 40 Live this time? Jamie Pring, good to have you here. Can't watch live. Oh, after all that build-up. Good to have you here, Jamie. Anyway, I hope you must have hit like, though, before, whenever you're watching. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, everybody. Just like Jamie has. Haven't you, Jamie? Haven't you, Jamie? Derek McManus says, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. Well, I'm well. We'll find out about them in a couple of minutes. Ahoy, shipmate, says Crimpline Doubloon. Thank you, Crimpline. Good to have you here. Wouldn't be a live stream without an early ahoy from your good self. And welcome, everybody, from our very own starry-eyed girl there. Always good to see her. Lord Thoth says, hi, everyone. Always cool and collected. Lord Thoth of what are you a lord of, actually, Thoth? You've never said. Keep that under your hat, don't you? Okay. Good evening, folks. Says Richard Brooks. Nice to see you back again, Richard. And Garbage just says an evening. Or we always get a couple of those, don't we? Off-duty policeman there, giving it the old Dixon of Dock Green. I have got the energy at last to be back in the chat. Hooray! Says Richard Brooks. Did we damage you the last time, my friend? Needed a couple of weeks off to get you. Pull yourself together, man. Pull yourself together in time for our 58th anniversary of Doctor Who celebration extravaganza. We've got a bit of everything lined up for you on this edition of the show. Seeing is believing, I can promise you. What else have we got? Yes, food and drink for my job. Sainsbury's let me down. I paid for it. Got confirmation, and they put it back into the baskets as I had viewed my order. Blimey, Garbage is really venting in the chat. I think we'll leave him to it and instead bring in some of the rest of the crowd. First of all, he was playing Christmas carols earlier on, or Christmas songs through the cloister room. So I think Christmas has started very much early for our friend the Mega Geek, Ian David Diaz.
Yay! Christmas has started, actually, for me, but not for everybody, of course. How are you?
Are you the noddy holder of Battersea then? Is it Christmas pretty?
No. I have loads of friends to see, so it starts around about this time and it goes into December. So, as I keep saying to people, Christmas, it's always best. The days leading up to Christmas is always the best the best. Then the day's all right, but the days leading up is so much better,
I
especially
think
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Christmas Eve is pretty fantastic. But how about this, JT? This is boasting about all the mates
Oh,
he's got
God,
here.
no. Bah humbug, JT.
It's not bar humbug at all. I just like Christmas in December, where it's supposed to be your Cornetto loon. Hi, Spacebookers. Good evening. Don't start me tonight. Don't start me tonight. Grow up. Just grow up. I've been having a great time on the Type 40 Facebook page. I am on one. I'm ready. Bring it on, bitches.
He's primed and he's ready. Sounds like somebody's definitely put the batteries in. JT, have you had a good week, mate? You were off. You were actually larging it, weren't you? Doing the old big fish, little fish cardboard box at a gig the other night?
I have no idea what that means.
Of course, you know, it's way too cool for that. Did you go and see Steps? You were putting your moves.
I did go and see Steps, but the less we talk about that, the better. No, I'll tell you what it was. It was absolutely brilliant until that idiot Ian Watkins, H, went off on one about 35 minutes towards the end of the show, going on about all this thing. Oh, I'm a gay man. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I've worn a dress on the show.
He's kept that quiet, hasn't he?
Trans this, trans that. What I'd like to say to Ian is, where the fudge were you in the 90s when the rest of us were doing that stuff anyway? So don't preach at me, bitch.
So if you are watching H or if you're in the chat, let us know. How was it for you? And happy Doctor Who Day.
Sure, he likes you too.
Well, no, it was just I found it really patronising. Some of us did all this stuff when it was relevant.
I hear you.
Do you know what I mean?
We hear you.
Yeah,
but do you hear Barnaby Jago all the way from wherever he is in the White Room?
In the White Room, yes. Good evening. How is everyone? Yes. Okay. Yes.
Hi, Barnaby. Good to see you. Happy Doctor Who Day.
Happy Doctor Who Day. Oh, that's lovely.
What have you got on your TV there? What is that on your? Is that like a cat or something? What is that?
It's an alien, isn't it?
Oh, it's an alien.
It's a head crab from Half-Life.
Excellent. You look great.
I think it was a chicken.
No. It's one of my favourite games, and
I think you should wear that for the whole show.
I might do that. I feel very comfortable. In fact, very comfortable.
People in the chat are worrying about us. I think hello all. Hope you are well. Says the classic 80s fanboy.
Really
good to see you all the way from the 80s. I practically live in the 80s as it is. And yeah, who else is here? Who Dan. Great name, Who Dan. Always good to see you here too. Who else is here? Oh, Bile says hello. That's a new name with a Skeletor.
Skeletor, we love Skeletor.
Yeah.
One of my male heroes.
I don't know what this is. Stand by your beds.
That was me. Look, that was me. I got on the show earlier. Look, there's me.
There you go.
Yeah. Good stuff. Blue Planet says good evening, and so do Charlotte Shields and Sarah Graham.
Bring on the girls.
Good evening, ladies.
Hello.
Good to see you too. I don't feel overdressed. What with your fez on there, Sarah?
Yeah.
I thought that was another alien.
Very stylish hat.
It's either for Doctor Who Day or you're on your way to some sort of magic act later on.
Yeah, just like that.
But you are wearing black. You are wearing black outfit.
Yeah, I'm going for the master look. I'm going for the Delgado vibe.
Best look,
nice
mate.
choice.
Yeah.
Nice choice. Good evening, one and all, says Julian Raxel.
Hello.
Barnaby looks like some kind of like extraterrestrial judge with that.
Yeah, and with that good evening there, who's just about to start reading the news.
What's that guy's name? The ball fella in the daytime. The Judge something or other.
Judge
Daytime
Who the hell watches daytime television?
My mum.
Oh.
My mum watches daytime TV. Judge Judy, she watches that.
Judge Judy. No, it's a guy, a bloke.
Rinda, or his name is Linda, or his name is
Rinda. I think it is.
Judge Rinda.
Diego over there in the corner.
Hey, we've got to pull our act together here because Wendology's watching it from the Department of Wendology, and she says ahoy, Spacebookers, which sounds very friendly, but we know she'll have her clipboard and her pen watching and listening to make sure we get our facts right here.
Oh, that's so sexy. I love a clipboard and a pen. Yeah.
Good stuff. Sunraider Customs is also here and says, cosmic greetings, Earthlings. What makes him think that any of us are from the planet Earth here, Charlotte?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at Barnaby. Look at Barnaby. I can't do it. Look at Barnaby. He definitely doesn't look like he does.
I think
He does remind me. With that on his head, he does remind me of Thatcher for some bizarre reason.
Is that that's not an alien face hugger, is it?
No, it's a head crab from Half-Life.
Oh right, okay. Because if it was, it probably drunk, probably couldn't find your face. It just stopped on your head.
Hi, Peter.
We've got
Thanks for joining us.
hello
Nice to see
here
you
from
again.
Peter Harrington too. Peter's been good enough to comment on lots of our videos on the channel over the last week or two. Lots of great content. In fact, not just from Peter, but from various other people who watch along with these videos. And I suppose they watch and they may even think about things we've said. And then they're struck within hours and days afterwards by their own thoughts that they have to add and impart to us. There's some very wise and creative people commenting on our videos. We do appreciate all their interaction. Lots of us are answering where we can, but keep the engagement up, keep the comments coming. I think we could get entire shows out of some of those comments, observations, and really good points that I think spin off from our conversation. So thank you all for all of that. And if you haven't yet, please like the video in advance. I think you'll agree that this is pretty good already, isn't it, Sarah?
That didn't last long, did it?
Can I also just say...
you got a line across your forehead yet?
No,
Listen, I just want to say hello to the one person that always gives us a thumb down. Hi, how are you?
Do you think it's the same person every time, JT? Do you think it's the same one person every time?
I think it probably is. I think a few of us might know who it is as well.
Actually, he hasn't given us a thumbs down yet.
Oh, keep an eye out, Facebookers, for that thumbs down. Yeah. It's going to come. Oh, especially when I open it up.
As soon as we talk about Jodie and the ratings, the thumbs
Who?
go down. Yeah.
It's Chris Chibnall, isn't it? He's the one who does it.
Who's he?
It could well be. Well, as soon as we start talking about all that stuff, the views go up and up and up and up. And so that is when we
Let's get up with the show then. Let's start talking about it.
Rookie numbers.
Where do we start? Where do we start? Because yes, happy Doctor Who Day. That was obviously a couple of days ago, but you know we've got to shift the sort of the dimensions over and around us, and everything's got to fit in. And yes, as Doctor Who fans, of course, I mean, it's good. I mean, Sarah's the only one that's kind of cosplaying, really. I think I consider myself a little.
What are you talking about? Look at that. Gallifrey.
Oh, there we are. I think, Ian's shirt definitely does pass. But yeah, the art of cosplay. We've been speaking over the last few months about how the Doctor Who universe is gradually opening up for conventions and cosplay and all those extracurricular activities that fans do love to take part in all year around. But even more so when November the 23rd is sort of generally on the calendar within a few days before or a few days after. And it was exactly the same for these two. These are the Doctor Who pugs, everybody. And they got dressed up for Halloween, in fact, in these glorious ensembles, these delightful bits of cosplay. And I thought I'd introduce you to them both intimately, because this is full credit to Indestructible Crafts, who provided the cosplay for these two dogs. So first of all, we have this is Bailey, everybody, and Bailey.
What is this, the One Show or something? Jesus Christ! Why are we covering this?
Bailey is wearing rather
something happy.
I would count this, Barnaby, as
there is a resemblance.
As a rather jaunty little hat that apparently comes from a doll's set, which fits nice and snugly on a pugly's head. And Bailey is accessorising there with a hand-knitted scarf by his owner. And but the rest of the outfit is rather daring, I think. A little off the shoulder, lots of pure fur on show. What do you think of this one?
Where did they find a mini wig?
I don't know. I've got my suspicions about where that short and curly hair came from, though, Sarah.
Oh, that's just style.
Yeah. So that's Bailey, everybody. I do rather like Bailey. And yes, this is Reba. And Reba is wearing a simple dog's coat that has been stitched and quilted over in the correct TARDIS blue, apparently, with a matching hat. I think this is the kind of hat that one would wear to Ascot, don't you think, Charlotte?
I think we've hit an all-time low with this.
This is not the sort of fashion show I'm used to, you know. God, it's come to this.
I've got to be fair, though. The poor dog looks a bit confused. Like one eye is bigger than the other.
Just like us.
And he looks
I'm confused.
It probably doesn't. It probably doesn't know what pronouns to use, Charlotte.
No, it probably doesn't.
But come on, isn't that the cutest thing you've ever seen? Then
No.
It is.
cute. I think they're absolutely adorable. So yes, this is Reba and Bailey, and they are models for Lan Maltby, who you can find Lan Maltby at Indestructible Crafts, and they make cosplay and outfits for all occasions for all pets, and these are available to order. There will be a link in the show notes and the description of the video for everybody out there. You know, I think these outfits, they're good not just for Halloween but for all year round. It's almost worth getting a pug, Ian, just so you can buy the cosplay, surely.
Seriously, Dan, scraping.
You know, in the words of Spike Milligan in that Doctor Who sketch, put them in the curry.
Oh, can you believe it, everybody? Tell me that there's got to be some animal lovers watching on YouTube. Let's have a look at Digby Strawbridge's here. Good evening, Spacebook. Good evening, lovely people in the chat. Hiya, everybody. Good to see you there too. And Garbage is saying, where is my Christmas tree? It's up in the loft where it should be, Ian.
No.
Oh, bless
Christmas.
Oh, God. Sunraider Customs says, I fecking love JT rants.
That's what it's all about, Sunraider. Keep tuned.
Blue Planet adds, head crab. Very cool, Barnaby. That's a big fan there of that. The crab's going down better than the pugs. Who'd have Who'd have
You're
thought
cool,
it?
Blue Planet. You're cool. Now I'm a zombie.
Barnaby, they're worried that you could be a zombie, though, here, Barnaby.
That's just the way he talks.
Yeah.
And the classic 80s fanboy adds, great. There's their story.
So great, she had to take it off. Yeah.
Yeah, so just in case you wondered what all this nonsense...
Fall off again.
Yes, just in case you're wondering what all this nonsense is about, you've come in late. Who would do that? We are celebrating the 58th anniversary of Doctor Who, the TV show that's brought us all together, and us together with you and maybe other fans in your life, connecting us with this wonderful fictional universe and this lovely old TV show, the longest science fiction and fantasy TV show in the world, despite what the people who make Stargate may claim.
Who? Who are they?
I know, these pretenders to the crown. And over the last few years, it's become known as hashtag Doctor Who Day. Now, there are people here amongst us who are a little reluctant to conscribe to the whole hashtag thing. But I don't think there's any harm in it. I think it's a nice sort of little abbreviation and another way of bringing people together, whatever you call it. But 58's a funny number, isn't it, JT? We're not...
How the hell would I know, you cheeky little...
But we're a few years away from a big birthday with Doctor Who, and the 50th is long in the rearview mirror. But what did you do to celebrate Doctor Who Day when it was on Tuesday then, JT? What were you doing?
Well, I've got a life, so I wasn't doing anything.
Did you watch any Doctor Who to celebrate?
No, I was out. Don't be ridiculous.
How about you, Ian? Have you watched any Doctor Who this week?
No, because this has been stupid Doctor Who Day that's never existed before. Now,
it has.
This is a Doctor Who stream.
Listen, Doctor Who Day. Doctor Who Day has been around.
Nothing to do with Doctor Who.
It's been around since November the 23rd, 1964. It just so happened that after the 50th anniversary, BBC America thought, let's get more publicity out of this and let's create a hashtag. Oh, please do me a favor. Grow up.
Yeah, so we are talking about the screening of An Unearthly Child, the first ever episode of Doctor Who, 23rd of November, 1963. How often do you rewatch the very first episode, Barnaby? Is it something you go back to all the time, or does it just sort of play in your memory a lot?
I haven't watched it in a long time actually, but it does replay my memory every so often. I mean that first scene in particular with the policeman just right next to the in the junkyard and things, and that's just so spooky and just almost like Dickensian. That kind of thing, sort of very, very, very spooky. That image is always in my mind.
Yeah,
smoky, isn't it? I mean, I suppose they'll remaster it for Blu-ray, probably for the 60th anniversary, I would say. But I kind of don't want it. I don't want it to look too good, Sarah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it loses its charm and mystique. I think if it's too good. But I have watched this recently. I've started doing some watch-alongs with Doctor Who chart. So we've just started watching this, and I haven't actually watched this since the 50th, because if you remember, the BBC had that night where after the day of the Doctor and that ridiculous after show, they showed the pilot, and it was the first time I'd actually watched it.
Right.
You know what? They should upgrade it. It looks so much better if it's upgraded. Than
I'm sure they will.
They should.
Because the way it was shot, like the junkyard, a few weeks ago when we saw that still photo of how like confined the set was. I like that because
Starry, right? When they upgraded the John Pertwee era, it looks so much better. It just looked fantastic. Well, some majority of them looked fantastic. So I reckon if they upgrade and rescan and upscale this one, it'll look fantastic. Even if it isn't black and white, you'll see more detail. It'll be fine. It'll look great.
Yeah, but
you still mistakes. Obviously.
But the Unearthly Child has this really sort of, I'd say more spooky. Even though I know some people don't like that word, and it's
because it looks has less details. Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Because of the black and white, because of just how murky it has, that feel of something murky and sort of old and spooky, and sort of you do feel like it's the beginning as well of something. And I think with the Pertwee stuff, it started in colour, so it's always going to look better when you make it a bit more detailed. Whereas this feels like, and I think it just feeds to the whole story. Like you've got this junkyard, and then you've got the Susan sort of mystery, which is a bit weird, and it sort of all adds together to this very weird vibe.
The music is quite like spooky and.
They can upgrade the music.
Oh God!
It all adds to it. It just makes it more atmospheric.
It's a perfect. I think it's a perfect cocktail in many respects. And sometimes when they do remaster old footage, as much as I love the Blu-rays, I think sometimes, I recently rewatched The Prisoner in HD all the way through on Blu-ray for the very first time. And you can see in that, Barnaby, you can see that some of the sequences which were shot indoors, but they try and make them look like Port Merion, you can see that they're painted backdrops, whereas in standard definition, you never could. And although I love the fact you can see the thread in McGowan's blazer, for example, I kind of wish I couldn't see those bits. So it's a case of which is the lesser of the two evils. And with Doctor Who, you'd probably be able to see the gaffer tape. Well, I think there would be. I think that's whenever anything comes out on Blu-ray, they always do give you the opportunity to watch with things augmented and enhanced or not. But when it comes to the Blu-ray sets, though, for actually remastering them, for the standard edition.
But you know what,
right? Polarize them, or maybe they will go the extra mile for the anniversary.
I brought Back to the Future a long time ago on Blu-ray, and then I brought the 4K one, and I enjoyed it more because I could see more. So maybe if they upgrade,
I think it works
and they have the choice. If you have the choice between the originally the way it looked and the upgraded version, then you at least two camps, right?
As long as there's a choice, I just don't want them to do like a George Lucas.
To eliminate it completely, you mean? Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
We've got a question here from Blue Planet, which I want to address. Where's Simon? Where is the original Who?
He's dead.
Now I've untied Michael Bublé to come down for Christmas. I had to replace him with Simon.
He's still.
I'd say.
The thing is, Blue Planet, he's been regenerating, and it's still within the 12 hours of his regeneration cycle. So we are expecting Simon Horton to show his face, whatever face it's going to be, a little later on. He's promised he should be able to make it, but he's probably sort of bursting and fizzing with regeneration energy and standing star-shaped in the console room somewhere as we speak. But he'll be along a little bit later. I think we can pretty much promise
He's gone out. He's gone out, Blue Planet. That's it. He's gone out.
We have lots here, Richard Brooks and various other people chatting away here. It's Dog Vision. So see, some people did. The cute dogs went down quite well with Richard Brooks and Sunraider Customs. Dog TARDIS. Customs.
I shouldn't laugh and encourage them.
I would rather watch them pugs than
Jodie. What are you going to say?
Jodie,
what are you going to say?
What are we saying?
Don't give the BBC ideas, because before we know it, there'll be a cartoon about them, I tell you.
Jamie Knight has spotted that may indeed have been a merkin on Bailey's head there, but I'll get in touch with the owners at Indestructible Crafts, and we'll try and get some answers there on the old on the wig there that Bailey was wearing, because I think we'll all sleep a lot easier when we know the answer to.
Doesn't look like a merker to me.
Yeah,
he's only gone and done it.
This is getting like That's Life, where Esther Ranson and Victoria Wood would do a little piano song. Can we have a lewd poem?
Have a word, Dan. Have a word.
and an innuendo-fueled picture of a turnip. Well, I can't give you a turnip. I can't give you a turnip, everybody, but I can give you this, courtesy of Katie Manning. Katie Manning herself, so you can't be nasty about this. For Doctor Who Day, she shared this. It's not a turnip, it's a donut with a single candle inside there. She said she'd only got one, she hadn't got 58. And that was her little message back to the Doctor Who community there from our Joe Grant.
You see, that's more like it. Dogs? Nah, this is good.
A Joe Grant action figure seems rather big for the Bessie, but apart from that, it's a wonderful effort there.
She's
Katie,
not sitting down.
Happy Doctor Who Day. Yeah, well, I think the donut's sort of getting in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's sort of blocking her seat in more than one way. But what we're talking about Doctor Who classics being remastered and them doing things to them, it does lead. Hiya Bailey, hiya Reba. It does lead nicely into another Doctor Who treat that's been put out again this week for Doctor Who Day. This comes from our friend Richard Tipple, who calls himself Far From All Over on Twitter and YouTube, and he's a colorization and recolorization expert. He works with Kieran Hyman on various things. They're the people who managed to completely colorize an entire black and white episode of Doctor Who. They're the only people that have ever done that.
Amazing.
And they continue to refine their techniques a couple of years later. And for Doctor Who Day this week, he shared a couple of little morsels, this being one. So check this out. This is a scene from Planet of Giants, starring William Hartnell. And these are the latest attempts to give colour to a completely originally black and white episode.
Dear, now is that irritating? They had to repair that wretched thing, and now look at it, I can't see a thing. I think we're beginning to materialize. Perhaps I shall know now where we are.
That looked great.
Oh, that's
great. What do you think of that, Ian?
I did like that. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It gives you a different perspective over the old shows. If they did all the episodes like that from season one, do I call it season one? Then yeah, it'd give you another reason to watch it. You can have the old versions on when they release it, and the new versions colorized, because that looks freaking great. All they need to do now is upscale the picture, and then it'll look even better. So
Richard says that has been completely upscaled.
Doesn't look like
restored,
Doesn't look like it.
Colorized. So what do you think, Barnaby? Does that manage to maintain the mystique of classic Doctor Who and add to it, or is it overstepping it for you? Because I think colorization is a divisive topic with a lot of fans.
I agree with Ian. I think it really improves it. And it also just and you see something different in it as well, because nothing like Bill's face to really just make you warm the cockles of your heart. And that's just cheered me up so much just seeing him. And also it's slightly more upscaled than it has been before the other episode is. So it's I approve of it. Because they upgraded upscaled Inferno, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, it's on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, and before that as well. And it looks so much better, because I couldn't stand the original VHS version of Inferno. And when they upscaled that, it's so much better to watch. So I think, colorizing and improve it away, I think. Yeah,
I think they're also very respectful to the original material, especially when they redid some of the special effects. They didn't go overboard with some of them. They actually tried to match the effects, like on when they actually did it. So,
they did that with the original in the original Star Trek as well. When they upscaled the effects, it looked brilliant.
And it's better, in my opinion. But anyway,
the Star Trek episodes look incredible. And I think we've spoken several times about the enhanced special effects on the Blu-rays. Well, they had some of those on the DVD range, didn't they, Sarah? And they, as long as they always give us that option whether to watch the new edition or the old, it's all fair, isn't it? It's all in the aid of classic Doctor Who being able to reach as many people as possible. I think.
I mean, I do agree with what Ian and Bonnie were saying. As long as there's both options, and if it helps to get new fans in, I know there is this reluctance, I think, sometimes with younger fans and new fans, where they look at it and they think, oh no, I don't like this looks rubbish, and and it is shallow. Yeah, you should give it a chance, but I do get it, and I think if it does encourage people to actually, I will take a look at this, and they can get past, I think once you can get past how it looks and just get into the story, I think you just fall in love with it. I think it does take people longer than others.
Gives you another reason to watch it, doesn't it? I guess.
Peter Harrington says, I like it the way it is, dark and cozy.
You always got one.
Well, Blue Planet says, I'm more than happy. Blue Planet says, I'm more than happy with DVD quality classic Who there, Charlotte. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the episode. Because I'm not going to lie, I would love to see the Aztecs in colour. Because the sets, even just a black and white, you can see how detailed and how much effort they put into those sets. So that is one I'm not going to lie, I would love to see in colour just because of... But I think that episode suits colour because you've got the sort of the temple setting, you've got the forest setting, and it all sort of pops naturally, whereas something like Unearthly Child or something that is a bit more, like I said, not so bombastic as a story, I think black and white suits those. Same with Troughton, actually. I think Tomb of the Cybermen, that works a lot because it's black and white. I'm not saying it wouldn't work in colour, but I think you would lose a lot of that story if you colorise that one. I think it just adds to the whole sort of eeriness, like I said, with Unearthly Child for Tomb. So I think it depends on the episode, on the story, sorry.
Marco Polo definitely would be good in colour, I think.
Oh, just imagine that colour reconstruction of it with all the photographs. I mean, that is absolutely beautiful. We've got a comment here from Cliff Maxwell in the chat. It says, I'm very thankful for Type 40. We're very thankful for you too, Cliff. Thanks for being here. All the virtual friendships, and wish you all the very best. Thank you so much. What a nice comment. They're all nice comments, of course they are. And we've got several wows here over that colorization. So people are loving that. Richard Tipple is very much a friend of the show. He's been on a couple of times now. We're going to tempt him back on soon. Impressive, most impressive, says the Darren. People turn up the camp, don't they? Chew on the scenery, even if it is virtual. Oh, God. Absolutely brilliant. I'd love to see more Troughton in colour, says Blue Planet. Well, we can't manage that for you this time, but maybe if we have a word with Richard, he'll spirit us up something else. Darren Bradley adds that colour helps draw the eye to various things seen on screen, which may have been overlooked previously. That can be for better or for worse, can't it, JT?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely, it can. I mean, I'm not fussed. I don't care if people. I mean, these colorizations that the fans are doing are great, are lovely. If the BBC eventually want to go out and recolor the BBC episodes that were made in black and white for black and white, and they're supposed to be in black and white, that's up to them. I wouldn't purchase them. I'm not interested at all. But I just think, what's the point? And if people are saying, no offense, Starry, but if people are saying that it's one way to get a new generation in, well, how fickle are a new generation if they can't sit and watch a black and white film or a black and white? I mean, come on.
I know, and I agree.
But it just gives you a second reason to watch it again. Sorry.
Some people, there is a generation out there that have never watched black and white, or they're put off by it.
I know, but if they can't sit down on a Sunday afternoon and watch Carry On Sergeant or a war film like the Dam Busters or something like that because it's not in colour, I mean, it says an awful lot about the way they're being brought up in my book. But I don't need an excuse to go back and watch a '60s episode.
What I found though, JT, is that sometimes people will watch the colour ones or watch ones with enhanced special effects on, and then afterwards they will go back and look at the original. Yeah. Sometimes that's the original.
That's fine. I mean, if that's what's going to happen,
both ways.
I don't think people would rush out, and certainly the general public would not rush out to buy a recoloured Hartnell or Troughton episode. I think it would be very much the diehard. After investing in VHS, sometimes 3 or 4 times for one copy, the same with the DVD range, sometimes 3 or 4 for one copy. The initial Blu-ray testers, which were the single copies, then the Blu-rays box sets. I'm at fatigue. When these Blu-rays are done, I doubt I'll ever buy another Doctor episode again because it's just continual. So I wouldn't invest in.
I doubt that too, but let's be honest, I've said it all before, and it's quite likely that you watching have.
I would buy them if they recolorized them and stuff like that. I would buy them. I'm sure.
I think there'd be a small market, but I do think it would be a small market. But good on the fans for doing these little excerpts and stuff because they are interesting. That one you showed there was very nice. It was lovely.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Did you see that one, JT, on the 5 Doctors where they upscaled that? I think some fan did it, and it looks really good.
I mean that's one of the advantages of the Blu-rays because of course they will all be upscaled. I agree with Sarah though when it comes to the original 1960s. I even though I've got the very grainy DVDs and the VHSs, I would still like whoever bought the Blu-ray box sets to have the option to see it as it was filmed, as it should be, as it was broadcast, because that's how it was. That's history. It's television history, and Doctor Who more so because it actually shows the progression of technology in the industry throughout 26 years. So for anybody studying television or the art of television or filmmaking, Doctor Who's the place to go because you can actually see them learning technology through all 26 original and superior series.
There's a place where both of them can live, though, right?
There is.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to like that one so much. Would you like to see another one?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
This is also by Richard Tipple. This is from the 10th.
I'm so excited.
Quite an Arctic storm blowing out there. Come along, Polly, my child, and my cloak.
Hey, Doctor, you've got the most fantastic wardrobe.
Yes, well, I'm glad you approve, my child.
It's gorgeous. Where do you shop? Carnaby Street?
Where do you think you are? Did I look at the north or something?
Oh, no. Ch. Stop being so flippant. We don't know what we're in for outside there. Come along.
Here you are, Doctor. Are you sure you're going to be warm enough?
Oh, like toast, my dear. Now, did you find everything you want?
Yes, thanks.
All right, well, let's go outside and investigate. Go along.
I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I would buy that in a heartbeat. That was nice.
Polly's outfit, lovely.
I thought you'd like those. We're going to go bang up to date now, though, for a story that's just broken this week. Also on Doctor Who Day, they announced that Time Fracture, the Doctor Who interactive
I forgot about that.
Event, whatever you want to call it. It's like a big danger room kind of thing, isn't it? Escape room thing. Time Fracture is reopening, everybody. The event closed several months ago due to flooding. It opens again tomorrow as of this live stream. So that's Friday, the 26th of November. And there's this press release and a brand new poster. It says the immersive experience was forced to close in July after heavy flooding hit the Mayfair building where it's located, leading to extensive damage. But now various measures have been put into place, including the installation of a flood defense system that will allow Whovians to visit the exhibit once again. The repairs themselves.
I think Mother Nature was trying to tell them something.
The repairs themselves had also been affected by further flooding with rainstorms hit in September and October, leading to more setbacks, but it will be open again as from tomorrow. The event originally opened last May, and this is the show that features those pre-filmed cameo appearances from lots of Doctor Who alumni, stars, whatever you want to call them, and it's set to run until the April of next year. Tickets are on sale now. Anybody wants to go to this?
No, not at all. Can you all see what I can see on that poster?
The horrible logo.
Apart from the horrible logo. Can you see that? Right, firstly, how many men are in that poster?
Well, does the pig count as a man?
Who knows?
Yes,
Very probably.
it's
Probably a straight white male pig as well, yeah.
Is a Cyberman.
And then how many tick boxes is that poster going on?
So you know what, JT? That's one of the reasons why I won't go.
Is that old non-binary? I'm not going if it isn't.
I'm not going to go.
Who's that in the Time Lord headdressing? Can you make out if that's a man or a woman?
It's a man.
It's a man.
Oh, it is.
From what I can see, there are two. I mean, it just shows you, doesn't it? Tick box, tick box, tick box. It's so boring.
BBC's got the BBC logo at the top. That's why.
But it's not even the tick box thing. It's like that's technically a Doctor Who product, and you haven't got a single Doctor on that poster.
That's true.
When we know
that's true as well.
They all filmed cameo. They all did their voice lines. They all did their little bits and bobs for it. Not a single Doctor. So people see that, like the general public, they're not going to react to it. They're just going to go, "Oh, it's a Doctor Who thing," but you haven't got.
Like, years ago.
Apparently, though, there are lots of actors employed at this immersive experience in different roles, and they've added to the cast. So they say, further cast members have joined, bolstered the unit HQ team for this reopening. So these are working actors, I think, have been specifically employed. And I would imagine that there'd be something in the contracts of the actual Doctor Who stars whereby, because they are not actually there, they can't be represented on the poster. Does that sound feasible to you, Barnaby? What do you think?
Yeah, it does sound like that, actually. And
no, I don't. I disagree.
I think I'm going to go and see it. I might go and see it.
Well, we'll report back. Barnaby.
I will report back, I think, because
do.
I will give anything a fair shake first. Fair shake.
Well, I have heard that. I mean,
I knew you'd jump on that, JT. I knew it as soon as it came.
I'm certainly not without payment. So listen, years ago there was a thing that toured the United Kingdom, and it was based around Murray Gold's music, and it was a show, and it was a sequel to The Carnival of Monsters, written by Gareth. And it was a show that went round everywhere. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
And their poster...
Nigel Planer was in it, wasn't he?
That's right. But their poster was the monsters. The monsters are coming was the tagline. The monsters sell Doctor Who more than the actors, all 6,000 million of them playing the Doctor at the moment. So you could have done it that way. Because like Sari was saying, you're looking at that and you go, who are they? So if any of the public are interested, which they're not, then they would go, I don't know any of them. What's the selling point? I think it's a very bad sell. I would have put the monsters on it to say, look, these are the monsters you can see at the show.
This is all
there's
BBC's
a Cyberman, there's an Ood, there's a Dalek there, Ian. I mean, some of the branding is there, some of the things that people recognise. But I think what could confuse general punters, because this has been closed for months, like 3 or 4 months, of really quite a limited run. And the only photographs that they've released, really, apart from the poster, are images like this of this person who looks... looks so nauseating. I mean, that poor girl, obviously, is working very hard there, I've no doubt. But it's
exactly the Doctor of the Future or something.
I think
she's supposed to be various elements, isn't she? But I just find that pathetic.
Sakes.
You know, that doesn't endear. But like Barnaby, I am kind of curious as to see how, because I remember going to the Doctor Who experience and being in that room where they played you the Matt Smith video and the TARDIS console was shaking, and seeing all the kids trying to grab all the levers. It was kind of sweet.
Just kids.
Sorry. Couldn't get anywhere near it.
But that was when the show was popular and we were all into it. I mean, that is basically for people, no disrespect to my chums on the show, but you guys are still watching the bloody show because of this sort of what I would call this. Well, not you, but but it's out of this loyalty you can't cut.
That's right.
No, I'm not watching it out of loyalty.
But my point is, it's still there because there's an inability for some fans to cut the cord. Do you know what I mean? And they're the fans that will plod to this thing and then say it's brilliant because the show must be protected.
I mean, it's so expensive. It's like £70 a ticket.
It is very expensive.
People haven't got that money, especially now, not on the lead up to Christmas.
That's right.
It is really expensive. But I do, and I read.
Barnaby hasn't got a family of 4 unless somebody's not telling you.
Exactly. And I was still going to see it for review purposes.
Yeah.
And Barnaby's got a very good agent, yes.
You're matron.
Depending on where, I mean, you do see people on on social. You do see people on social media who come away from this event though very happy with lots of photographs. You know, they've gone in cosplay and they've had a whale of a time with their friends. So I'm sure, you know, for all that it may not be for some of us, and I don't, you know, I think I'd probably have gone now if it was a lot closer to me. Just to kind of like Barnaby, just to see. But I don't know how much it is aimed at me because, as you said, I'm very much, you know, I'm very disenfranchised from present Doctor Who. But some of the iconography, it depends on. I mean, I've heard all sorts of things about the storyline that plays out in there. Maybe they've refined that too because they did have some bad feedback from.
I get a bit defensive about it, Dan, because I mean, what is there on that poster for my boys to see? What is luring the kids in?
What's relatable? It's like the thing, Sarah, and there's something going on in Liverpool. There's something that's going to be happening over there. I am not interested in that at all. And yet, it's the sort of thing I would normally be interested in. But because they've where I am now with the whole show, and I'm just not interested in the show at all, I'm not going to go to it. And it's a sciencey thing, and I would normally have gone to that because it's Doctor Who with science. Wow. I can't be bothered with hearing
BBC making a statement one more time. They keep pushing it. And basically that poster is saying, look, screw off you white people, white males, go away. This is what we're doing now. This is the BBC's agenda. And they keep doing this. And quite frankly, I will not support something like this at all. I will not.
Are we perhaps a little sensitized to all this? Probably with good reason, but are we being a little oversensitive?
No, I don't think we're being oversensitive. I think we are aware. And as you say, Dan, we're aware because we have good reason to be, because they've made us aware of this issue over 4 years.
And they don't care.
And we've spoken about it on past issues of this show. If you haven't seen the past issues of the show, please go and have a look at them. You've got loads of series there to have a look at. And what we've said a lot of the time is that we can now see the tokenism coming through. Pete, I know you're in Liverpool and you're not going to go and see the show, are you, down there? So... but yeah, it's just one of those things now. I mean, I noticed these things more than ever before in my entire life because of what happened with Doctor Who. I'm more aware of these things around me now because of what happened with Doctor Who and the continuing thing with the BBC. I just find it tiring.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started on the other segment to the show. This is something that we did last year here on Type 40 Live. There is more. There's even more. So yes, on Doctor Who Day last year, we conducted what we called the Type 40 Companions of 2020. And the idea was that we threw a lot of names up in the air, people who had made a big, significant contribution to either Doctor Who itself, in terms of the fiction, or the world around Doctor Who that we all like to play in, and we celebrated them, and then we picked a winner on the Christmas show. And people seem to really get involved in that. The people over in the Facebook group and who follow us on social media, they played their part in choosing the final companion of 2020, who was Peter Capaldi. It was last year, and so we thought we'd do it again this year, and we're launching the Type 40 Companions of 2021. Here and now, everybody. And it's slightly different this time. Not quite so many combatants in the arena this time, but each of us have come up with names and ideas and things to throw out there for the rest of us to chew over, and for you guys out there watching on YouTube or on Facebook or listening along on the podcast to hit back. Let us know who you would pick and why. And first of all, drop us a postcard to Wood Lane.
W12 HQT.
Everybody remembers the old BBC sort of slogan.
01811 8055.
Noel Edmonds used to have it across the top of his console, didn't he?
Yes, so does now. See, you get through to. You probably get through to Jenny. Yeah. Oh no, it wasn't me. Oh no.
Yeah, so each of us is going to talk a little about one person in particular that we feel has made Doctor Who that little bit brighter in 2021, when you consider that there's been precious little bit.
Yeah, that's the year we're in, love. That's the year you can sell by date on.
Nothing. There's nothing. Doctor, there's nothing.
Okay, moving on.
This year, was it?
Let's chewing that one over. So the first of our picks, we're going over to our starry-eyed girl, Sarah Graham, to talk a little bit about this gentleman. Who is this, and why do you want him
to be
considered?
I think he mugged me a couple of days ago. He looks like a
What was that? Sorry, Ian.
I said, it looks like a mugger, doesn't it?
It's from Salford.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so who is this, Sarah, and why do you want them considered for the Type 40 Companion of 2021?
Oh, this is my beloved Ninth Doctor, and just the fact that he's back in the fold, kind of, with Big Finish. And it's not to everybody's cup of tea, I know that, but it's the closest we've got to him being back as the Ninth Doctor. And this man made me a fan. So I've been super excited about this. And it's just listening to him, hearing his voice, hearing him say fantastic.
Fantastic.
Hearing that, when you put the CD on, because I always have to have a physical copy, and it plays that 2005 version of the theme. And
starts thumping in your headphones,
it doesn't take much to make me happy, but this is Doctor Who's back in a sense. And I know when he's opened his mouth in a few interviews, he's been a bit
abrasive.
Yes.
Good rock and roll.
Yeah, good.
Do it.
I like that about him.
Obviously, he was honest about
not coming back.
He wanted to get paid, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody getting paid, especially after the past 20 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff about current Doctor Who and Jodie, obviously he's got to pay lip service to that. I don't really take much notice, and
he said precious little, to be fair to him, about any of that.
He doesn't.
Well, not for a few years, yeah.
He's not a geek, is this? He wouldn't care about stuff like canon. It's what people would call a normie himself. But there goes the fez now.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm not. The things he had said. I mean, I think he has supported, having a female doctor, but I just kind of overlook that because it seems to be the relevant.
I honestly think that Christopher Eccleston does not care one jot either way. Anything that happens with the show. It doesn't concern.
Care, no. He probably doesn't even watch it either. So
no,
of course he doesn't. He's got better things to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
incredible talent.
His own career. Yeah, as you say, JT, he's incredibly talented. The man can pick and choose his projects, and the culture war and the things that divide this fan base. And I don't think he would look at them as any of his concern at all.
Oh, no,
and I don't think he'd be judgmental. No, and I don't think he'd be judgmental in any sense. I think the work is what's important to him, doing good work, being true to what he believes and what's on the page. And as long as it connects, you think he's a good actor as well?
Yeah, I do. I think he's very talented. He's a very talented actor.
And it's transferred so well. I mean, because it is not done, audio adventures before, but when I've seen him in the interviews talking about it, it's been really animated, and it looks like he does care about what he's doing. Because obviously, he wouldn't put his name to it if he wasn't. And he was saying kind of like a physical actor he is, and they've had a laugh when he's been recording because he's throwing his arms around everywhere and I can imagine that. I can just imagine
there are videos, aren't there, Sarah, of him recording
jacket. Doing what he did.
But there are videos, Sarah, of him actually in the booth recording these, and still being very, very, being very physical, being very functional as an actor, being enthused, and also working with. In the clips that I've seen, he's got people in the same room with him, and it's almost as if he could be on screen. He seems very, very present and completely in the role. Barnaby, have you heard any of these? Have you seen any of the footage of Chris bringing the character back to life?
I have seen the footage of him in the recording booth. I haven't listened to any of it yet, but I do exactly the same thing when I'm in the recording booth. It's just, I'm quite a physical actor as well. So when he's out there just flailing his arms around, he's come back into those shoes so quickly, and you just see it in the recording booth, annoyingly, because we only had one season as him as the Doctor. So I loved seeing that. I was actually watching before the stream started, The Unquiet Dead, for the first time. Thinking about 10 years.
I like that one.
God, was he good in that?
It was.
Even just certain bits where there's just it's concentrating on another character, but you've got him in the back and he's just smiling, and it's electrifying, and I'm just so brought to him, and I just you see so much in his gaze, and I miss that.
The Unquiet Dead is the only decent script that Mark Gatiss wrote for Doctor Who.
And one, the best thing, as I said to Dan before in the previous episode, the best thing about that episode is that the Doctor was the man that knew, that was the cleverest man in the room, and I love that about Doctor Who. Love it.
Yeah.
Putting Charles Dickens in his place.
That's right.
I'm realizing later on that he was wrong. The alien side of him came out through that. So, actually, I've been a bit rude to you, and you are a genius of your species of your time. So I quite liked that part of it as well.
His recreation of the role on audio is very, very charged, and he's completely. I think some of the stories, as one would expect, are better than others, and some of them serve the character better than others. In some of them, the Doctor, I don't think he's ever passive. I don't think Christopher Eccleston would take a script that was passive, but a lot of them are very. How can I put this? They just simply wouldn't work on television or as films. They work beautifully in audio, and I haven't heard all of them yet myself. But you can tell that he is completely sort of engaged with the entire story. Knows where the character is going, and although I don't think he's familiar with any of the incarnations, either side of his, I think he knows where this character meets his own personality and the qualities that he can bring to the part, and the sort of stories that he thinks would connect with people, with the fans. I think he's met enough of us by now to have a fair inkling of what people latched onto about the character. And Christopher Eccleston, let's just recap here. This is the 57-year-old actor, believe it or not, who is presently starring in The A Word on the BBC and Close to Me, which I think is a Channel 4 show. He's born in 1964, two-time BAFTA Award nominee, best known for film and TV work, and of course playing the 9th incarnation of the Doctor in Doctor Who. He's also been in The Leftovers, as well as movies like Shallow Grave and the G.I. Joe movie. Yeah, Thor 2, The Dark World.
Oh, he only did that for the money, though. I loved him when he said that. He said he took the money and run. I thought,
very honest.
I love you.
TV stuff like Hillsborough, the Jimmy McGovern thing, Hillsborough, and Cracker also for Jimmy McGovern. Our Friends in the North was also a huge success for him and Daniel Craig and Gina McKee. Everybody was on that show. And even as far back as Let Him Have It in 1991, Christopher Eccleston seemed like somebody, like a talent to be reckoned with, I think, Ian. And to see him come back to the bosom of Doctor Who, he's made his debut, didn't he, on the convention circuit, probably around 2.5 years ago now. He first started to appear, I think it was a Gallifrey one. Yeah, in a very sheepish original, what do you call it, a performance, appearance on stage? But I think he's done 3 or 4 now, and that's
I love it when they asked him.
And sort of lured him back to the role.
Sorry, Dan, I love it when they asked him, would be part of the Six, and everybody started cheering. Then after they stopped cheering, he went, no.
That's the other thing, though, isn't it? Because as much as, for everything that we've said about him and the Big Finish stuff, I think we can't but respect how he says his piece. He doesn't play to the crowd. He knew the answer that we wanted to hear, both the people in the auditorium there, Charlotte, and those of us who watched it streaming on YouTube afterwards. But he was still true to his principles, true to his story, wasn't he? What do you feel about all that?
Well, he really upset them, didn't he?
But Chris doesn't care. Chris is to the point, and it's sort of. It is funny because he sort of does that thing. Oh, I'm from Salford. Like, he repeats that quite a bit. But you can see that sort of not care attitude in the best way, that he will just say what he wants to. He won't be edited. He won't be told you can and can't say this. And I do think, Chris, when you do watch The Ninth Doctor, and that, obviously he was my first Doctor, and his Doctor's always an interesting one because I was quite young when I watched him. So I didn't get all the nuances. I didn't get the layers. And I think Chris's Doctor is easily the Doctor that I've grown to love more as I've got older. Because the more you watch his series when you're a bit older, you can understand that his incarnation was coming off the Time War. And that informs so much of his character. And that you've almost got this sort of thing of a Doctor. I see it now as who knows that he has to heal, who knows he wants to go back to who he was before the Time War, but he just can't yet. There's too much mental damage. So you get this almost too, like, a character that's fighting in himself. And you see that throughout that first series, that he'll be really cheesy and like mega smile, and you go, that doesn't suit. But it's because he's relearning, is the way I now see it, how to almost be that adventurer again, that doctor that he was before. And obviously we now know Chris's mental struggles, just he was having himself. And
he's been so honest about that, hasn't he? So generous in talking about it and writing about it in his book, Barnaby.
Yeah,
but you know what, right? If it's true that Russell T, when he said that in the convention about why he won't go back to Doctor, if it's true, that's really horrible. That's a horrible thing to do to the man. Do you know what I mean? And announce that he was leaving, and he gets abuse in the street because they did that and all that stuff. It's horrible. No wonder why he doesn't want to go back to them. No wonder why he doesn't. This for him. This is a balance, isn't it? Let me go back to Doctor Who to please the fans, but not go back to Russell T and the main thing itself. So.
And please the fans, he definitely has been doing. I mean, we see pictures of him at conventions all the time. Pictures like we've got on screen at the moment, those watching on YouTube and Facebook, where he's interacting there with a group of his punters. These wonderful pictures from conventions and signings and all the rest of it. And he just gets it. For somebody who is got this reputation, Barnaby, as being quite... well, he is a very serious man, but the idea that that's only one side to him, there are different sides to this man, and he does get it. He's a fan of various recording artists and footballers and things, so he absolutely gets what the fan thing is, I think.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside, he seems very... So, there we go. There's the two different sides right there. Very sort of terse and serious, and then just underneath, I mean, he's just a... Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I hate to be the cog in the wheel. But is he only doing this because he realizes now he's got to embrace Doctor Who, and now he's got to be good to the fans and stuff like that?
You can never tell with actors.
You can never tell. No, you can never tell.
We're very devious.
He's been honest. I know that.
I'm really an utter bastard in real life.
He's been honest about the fact that work has been short.
Yeah.
He's been honest about the entire thing. And I think that's another reason why he's a strong candidate for the Companion of 2021. I think it sets a great example, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm not biased at all. Yeah.
Christopher Eccleston is our first nominee for the Type 40 Companion of 2021. We've got several more to come. Secondly, we have this gentleman, and Charlotte is about to tell us why she's nominated Jamie Magnus Stone here.
I'll probably have to explain this one quite a bit to some people. Right, because I, as JT says, I'm a nutter for currently watching Series 13. He is the one bright spot. That's the best way I can explain it. But I do think it is important with the current production team that if there is a good thing in there, there is something that you find that's actually showing skill and actually impressing you. I think we need to celebrate it. We did that with Sasha last year, and I think Jamie's sort of taken that role.
Yeah, Sasha Dewan was one of our nominations last year for Companion of 2020. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, so I almost see Jamie as sort of this version.
Well, who is this? Who? What is he? Who is he?
Well, Jamie Magnus Stone is a 35-year-old Scottish film director and animator. He studied at the National Film and Television School, and he's the son of Sally Magnusson, grandson of Magnus Magnusson.
I wonder how he got that job then.
And television at the Edinburgh College of Art, where he made his first two films. And in the August of 2011, he directed his graduation film Skyborn.
Lucky bastard.
And has since gone on to direct The Last Dragon Slayer for Sky Pictures and for shows like Queens of Mystery, which I think is a brand new sort of detective show.
Right.
In 2013, just after he left university, he directed The Last Day, which was one of those minisodes for Doctor Who there, which was about the Gallifreyan army in the middle of the Time War.
I remember that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
He directed that, and a couple of years later, that's when he went on to The Last Dragon Slayer. And just lately, in the last few years, he's sort of returned to Doctor Who. Initially, he directed Spyfall Part 1, which was the premiere episode of Series 12, wasn't it? And then he returned to direct a couple of last-minute scenes for Fugitive of the Jadoon. He directed all the elements to that episode with Captain Jack in them, Charlotte.
Yeah,
and did a good job then, did he?
Well,
because they were terrible.
Fair, yeah,
they
but
were absolutely awful.
The main reason I'm highlighting is because of his Series 13 work. Because
it was off the strength of those. Well, let's just sort of draw the dots there, because the stuff with Fugitive of the Jadoon, that was the episode where allegedly there was a bit of a meltdown at Rothlock on production of Doctor Who. They called it chaos in Cardiff at the time. When you watch back Fugitive of the Jadoon, you can tell something's not right with that episode. It is all over the place. And apparently Jamie was parachuted in to direct those scenes. So I think he does quite a good job there. And maybe it was the fact that he managed to pull those things together that got him 3 episodes of Series 12, which were Praxius, Ascension of the Cybermen, and The Timeless Children, and he's directed one of the 2 blocks, hasn't he, for Series 13? And there's been some beautiful work on screen, hasn't there, in all of those things. Whenever we think about the actual episode themselves, this is the man, he's the lensman, isn't he? That's you're a director, Ian. You know the distinction yourself. So is it the fact that you feel his work stands out, Charlotte, compared to other directors?
Yeah, it's just that I think, like, in some of the scenes in the Sontaran episode and some of the Weeping Angels episode that have just gone, there was actually some really scenes that made me stand up and notice them. And I think that's because I'm not one that usually has an eye for directing. It's not one that I naturally notice, if I'm being honest. And the fact that there was actually quite a few scenes, like the battle stuff that I said in our review, I thought that was really well shot when they were just on the battlefield, seeing bodies and bits like everywhere. You got that sense of
But
loss.
you do realise the director's not responsible for all of that, don't you? You do realise the director only plays a small part. Then you got the editor, then you got the cinematographer, then you got the cameraman.
Yes,
so you can't just say it's him. You know what I mean?
But by the same measure, looking across
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment.
But by the same measure, when you look across the other episodes and they don't look as good, then what do we focus on? As Charlotte says, it's what meets the eye, isn't it?
Well, as I said, you can't really contribute to the director, can you? Because you don't know what he actually done. I don't know. I never saw the episode. Sorry, Charlotte, carry on.
But
sorry.
Ian, it's what I found impressive. He's managed to actually make mood, and I think that's him. Because of the other bits, I understand they're a part of it, but the fact that I'm actually one of the dialogue's not making me feel anything. The actors aren't making me feel anything. But do you know what? Certain scenes and shots are actually making me feel something. Like in the Weeping Angels episode, that was bits of that episode were really creepy, were really atmospheric, and I think
but that might be down to the editor, though. You know, that's what I'm saying.
It's a vision. It's a and
that might be down to the DOP. So I don't know. I haven't seen the episode.
Ian, you've got to watch the episodes to find out.
I know, but I don't want to.
I mean,
you might have to.
If this director then, if he was like maybe on the crew list under RTD, would that be something that would get you excited then, Charlotte? Because I've not watched it, so I can't see. But if he actually directed, talent,
like that, you've got to understand what the director does and what everybody else does around him. So you've got to understand what he does, and then you come to the conclusion of what he did in that part, or guess whatever. But
Ian, at the end of the day, it's what's got an emotional reaction out of me.
And I said it might not be the director that emoted that emotional response of you. It might be because it's lit well, or it might be because of a certain performance from an actor, or it might be because of a camera shot. But you know what I mean? It could be anything.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Just to add to what
Never saw the episode.
But to add to what Dan is saying, you almost you can sense in Series 13 so far when he's not the director.
Okay.
We've had one episode where he wasn't directing. I think I could be wrong there.
Okay. I didn't mean to give you a hard time.
Once Upon Time was directed by somebody else. I mean, I thought that the Halloween Apocalypse was really quite flat, but I agree with you about War of the Sontarans, and I actually agree with you about Village of the Angels too. We haven't recorded our review of that yet, so that will come in time. But I do see exactly what you mean, and I think that you can. My hopes for the remainder of Flux are not high. You know, they aren't in many respects anyway. But visually, I think that we're going to notice a massive difference because Jamie's not there. And although, I mean, a couple of the episodes last year were positively heinous, I thought elements of Ascension of the Cybermen did have a certain energy to them. So I can see this man, and I'm quite interested in seeing the Last Dragon Slayer, the Sky thing that he's done. You know, so I can see that he could perhaps be one to watch. Although the fact that he clearly is connected, as you say, and that does make you wonder. But I know what you mean, Charlotte, and I think of everybody who is presently on the credits of the show that we love or did love. I think this is probably the solitary name at the moment that holds any real promise or interest, and who is doing anything unexpected and even slightly unusual.
Yeah, and I do think we get told so many times, oh, we're so negative, and I think a bit of me almost picking him is to show we can see good, we can highlight good, but
agree.
And you shouldn't let, obviously, like I said, the writing, everything else around it, impact the thing that, for me, like I said, it's the one thing watching series 13 so far. Right. And when you told me, I was thinking, and I just thought, I think he's a good name for that reason as well.
Thank you, Charlotte.
I respect that, but what I'd like to point out first of all is, if anybody's saying that we are negative on this show, tell them to go to hell. You cannot be negative through an opinion. I've just had this argument with some idiot on the Facebook page. If you have an opinion, it's not positive or negative. It's an opinion. There's no right or wrong because each individual person has the right to an opinion. I know democracy is being drowned out by these idiots going on now, and it is in the death throes. And you, Barnaby, are very lucky to know what democracy is in your lifetime, the way we are going. But it's an opinion. So it's not negative or positive on this show. It's just opinion. Secondly, as well, I think I've never heard of this guy, so it's not a name. I'd be interested if in future you guys are watching whatever his name is, because the real thing about a director is not. I think it's so sad when we're now talking about the look of a show. Oh, the CGI is amazing. That's brilliant. Sod all that. The director, as Ian he knows what I'm going to say. It's about the performance. Barnaby, you'll understand it. The director brings out a performance from the leads and from the actors in the show. Now, has he managed that with the likes of Whittaker and whatever her name is and what's his name that are in the show? Have they actually managed to bring in characterization and an understanding of what they're in and stuff like that? Because that's the trick of a director. So there's the bigger...
Yeah, but the other characters...
They're still working with the same script, though, aren't they,
You can see it.
Sorry?
They're still working with the same script, though, aren't they? When the script comes down, it's given to the director. I understand that perhaps in the classic series, people like Paul Joyce, he pretty much rewrote Warrior's Gate. But I think in the modern series, in the current series, when a script comes down to a director, it is largely set in stone.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the script. When an actor gets a script, they have to interpret that script, and the director must help them to bring that script alive.
Yeah, but they can only help them so. If the material's poor, though, they can only help them so.
No,
and this material is poor. There is still only so much they're going to be able to do between them, the director and the actor. I
disagree. A good actor, and I'm going to bring this up again.
I don't know. I've never done it.
Capaldi had terrible scripts, but he brought them to the screen. They were solid performances. A good actor could turn a Crossroads script into a classic.
I hated the Robin Hood episode, but Peter brought everything to life just through his performance. You know what I mean? You know, Peter. I mean, I think JT's got, but also I think Dan's got a point as well. So if you're trapped in a crappy script, there's only so much you can do. But if you're a great director like Steven Spielberg, he'll move the camera to express a mood. He'd also bring out the performances out of the actors as well. Has this man achieved it? Also, I'm a bit puzzled why a white male is directing this new version of
Let's not go into that.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm puzzled about that.
One of the things about this young man is he's new into his trade. He's going to be learning this. He might become more empowered. If you see him in anything that isn't Doctor Who, please let me know, because I am intrigued to know how he works and who he is.
I'm pretty sure.
But I would be very interested to know if you see him in contrast.
Looking through his filmography, JT, given the fact Doctor Who is a high-profile show, how little work he's actually done. And so, but I've never seen the other stuff, and I'm going to seek it out because I do feel that this man has brought some life to, in some instances, some really quite dire stories, and I can see why Charlotte's focused on him. Digby Strawbridge says, "Thanks for this, Charlotte. Thank you for watching this." It highlights the tragedy of this era when talented people will try and make this nonsense work. Raymond Williams adds, he's not a miracle worker.
Not many of us are.
What I've heard from listening to your reviews and other people's review is that the supporting cast every week are fantastic, and it's the main three. I mean, well, this is what happens when you hire box tickers and a plank of wood and a comedian.
Which one's the plank of wood?
Alison Stevenson adds, there's very little actual acting in Doctor Who Flux. The pace is way too frantic. I was interested to see what you'd have to say about that, Alison, because a few weeks ago when you were last here, you said you were going to watch it with a completely open mind and how little you'd seen.
Yes, my mind fell out.
Thank you for getting back to us. Thank you for getting back to us on that. We're glad you've made it through. Derek Brady says, not seen any of this series. No matter how good it may or may not be, they've blown it with the previous two seasons from me. I mean,
well, the ratings would suggest, Derek, that you're not the only one. There are millions in the UK that have that as well.
And maybe some talent will survive this car crash and make it through to another era, so we can see really what the real worth is and what the longevity of their career may or may not be. Talking about somebody who has... Yes, thanks for that suggestion, Charlotte. I think it's an interesting one, and I think Jamie's a potentially an exciting character of the future. He's 35 years old.
Even Graham Harper could get...
Darling, Graham wouldn't do it, would he? He would turn it down. He would turn it down straight away.
Okay, but we're going to have to move on and look at the third person. This is my suggestion, and it's probably who you think it's going to be. So my suggestion for companion of 2021 is no, it's not, but it is Julie Gardner. This is the 52-year-old TV producer originally from Neath in Wales. Julie Gardner, of course, was the executive producer of Doctor Who alongside Russell T Davies and Mal Young and Phil Collinson from 2003, 2004, right the way through till 2009. And she's been working in television since around 1995. I found out today, in fact, that her first job was on Our Friends in the North, which also starred Christopher Eccleston. And just in the last... Yeah, well, of course, she now, after a few years working in the States, she made that transition with Russell T Davies through Torchwood to go and work with Russell on Torchwood Series 4 for Stars over in the States. She's now... her official residence is in America. That's where she lives. But she was the co-founder with Jane Tranter of Bad Wolf Studios. Now, if you remember earlier on in the year, and I'm going to keep harping on about this because although it was announced around August that that Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf were taking over production of Doctor Who from the BBC, we had been crowing about that on this show as the only reasonable way forward for Doctor Who. We've been talking about that since probably late January or February and predicting it would happen probably since around April. So, in fact, I myself, I'll put my hand up here and say I'd been making direct pleas through this very screen to you, Julie, to come and save Doctor Who for us. And come August, it was announced that for all intents and purposes, maybe she has, when the BBC and Piers Wenger announced that the Bad Wolf was getting the independent
That's because they watched
contract,
our show,
whatever
mate.
you want to call it, to take Doctor Who from 2023 onwards. And Julie is there in the thick of it with Russell. We have heard speculation. Well, we know that
They heard us. They heard us.
We know that this. We know, don't we? Several people on the panel. We know that this show is watched further and wider than you may well believe. So it isn't impossible that Julie, if you are out there, if it was us in any way, thank you and thanks. Yeah, please save Doctor Who for us. I'll say again, please save Doctor Who for us. But yes, Julie was an integral part, I believe, of the success of Doctor Who from 2005 to 2009. I feel she was, by all intents, I think Russell even admits that she was pretty much his sounding board for not so much the ideas of the scripts, but how to run the show logistically.
I think she reined him in a little bit, didn't she?
Yeah,
Well,
they
that's what
developed
continues to do.
They developed it and they honed it as a product, not just what's on screen, and the way that it reached its audience and maintained its audience. They achieved all that together. Here we've got a picture of Julie and Russell there. That's on their way to Murray Gold's wedding about 5 years ago. So they've been close friends ever since. But
She live in America, Dan?
She officially lives in America, but I understand
right.
she's based mostly in Wales at Wolf Studios, which, as we talked about last week, is based in mainly in Cardiff, but they have got studios facilities in several countries. But why? Just in the last couple of days, it's been announced there's been a further development here. So yeah, I've got a picture of it. So this is something that's come to light in the last few days. This is a brand new company that's been registered with Companies Houses. This is the UK government's official website. So this is 100% true that earlier this week, Whovians One Limited was registered as a company with Companies House, and Julie Gardner is listed as the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Whovians One Limited, alongside Jane Tranter and somebody called Natasha Hale. That's a name that I don't recognise. Russell T Davies is not on the list of people who are heading up this particular company. I wondered who of you have seen this news. What do you think Whovians One could possibly be, Sarah? And Julie Gardner being there, and we've talked about this on the show, you see, in the past, how even though it's Russell T Davies, it's his name that's in the paper, it's his name above the door. But for us, we've said all along that it's Bad Wolf and Julie Gardner. This is going to be a long-term home of Doctor Who. So what do you think about this news, Sarah, and what are your instincts about what Whovians One could be?
It's exciting. It means things are getting real. I believe, Russell's the creative side. This is the nitty-gritty. This is the business stuff. And hopefully, this is going to be the marketing and, everything else, that goes along with it. The merchandise and all that side of things, I hope.
I think it's something... I think this is spin-offs. I think this is Russell's spoke
clues
about...
clues in the title, mate.
They were talking about... weren't they talking... Wasn't that the news or something?
Yep, they were talking about it. Yep.
Well, we've been talking about that for a year.
Yeah.
Saying, because Russell said months ago that he didn't understand what the BBC was doing with I'm paraphrasing, just to make that very clear. He didn't understand what the BBC was doing with Doctor Who now. He didn't understand Doctor Who now. He didn't understand why they hadn't built on what he was doing back in the day, where he had 3 shows in production at the same time. And he didn't understand why that wasn't going and why that hadn't continued. So it's not a surprise to think that there could be a whole channel with a new production company just showing the main show and any associated spin-offs to do with the main show.
It's going to be interesting.
It could be like the Marvel and DC stuff, because that's what Russell wanted.
Whovians is a word that we all kind of use, isn't it, Barnaby? And it does conjure up that sort of connected universe.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of different spin-offs that could happen with all the wonderful cast of characters in the last couple of seasons. So it's even more of them.
You could see an animated series, a bit like Shaun the Sheep, based around the Pating, or maybe an animated series. How about an animated series where we get a little plasticine Yaz? Could be a bit like Morph. It should be a lot more animated than she's been on screen for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about it is I've said this on the show for months now. This is why they have to get the next version of this show absolutely 100% correct. They have to bring us back as fans. We have to be excited. I'm really not excited about it at all after Russell's rant a month or so ago.
That's a shame, because you were like 6-7 weeks ago when the story broke.
When you look at the reaction show when the story broke, you can see that I'm sort of on the fence about it, but open to it. I'm not now, because Russell's made it very clear which side of the fence, and it's on a different side to me. And I don't like that opinion. What will be the big tester for me is that the Noel Gordon soap drama, whatever you want to call it, that he's in production with.
That was confirmed this week, wasn't it?
If that comes on and it's not preachy in any way, then there might be hope for Doctor Who. But they have to get Doctor Who right, because if they want to have a new cast of characters which are going to lead off into other shows, because they may not want to rely on things from the past, and quite right too, if you can get people watching the show with brand new characters and have Doctor Who very popular again, you can do what they did with Still on Earth and Journey's End, and have the Doctor and all these other bits and pieces, all these shows bleeding into one for these great big build-ups and meetups occasionally, like the American shows are doing with the superheroes all meeting every now and then. Crossover, that's the word. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
But
and
you
that's
know
the
what
advantage of a new series.
That's what I hope for the new Doctor. I hope that just like JT, they don't keep going backwards about the angels, the Daleks. I mean, you're gonna have a Dalek or two in there.
Of course, you would have to.
I think Russell will definitely move forward with it.
I hope that they create new villains, right?
Yes.
New situations. The Doctor moves forward rather than keep referring back to what happened in the past. And I hope that they take this era and they shove it in something new and wonderful and interesting. That's what I hope. Now,
and watchable.
Watchable.
They're doing that now.
Julie was there across. Julie was also across the Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood, as well as Doctor Who. She was there the entire every step of the way.
And Sarah Jane.
I didn't like Torchwood at all, but Sarah Jane was okay. But I just hope that they create new characters, new evil villains.
They have
move
to
forward that way. Yeah,
they have to. They
so,
really have to.
And I think that in the time in between as well. I mean, we've spoken before about the things that Julie Gardner's done since. She went to work on Da Vinci's Demons with Aidan Turner, which I never saw, but it ran for 2 or 3 years. I Hate Susie with Billy Piper.
With Billy?
I saw one episode. That was enough for me.
Lately, she's been integral in His Dark Materials, which I think, and I have no love for the BBC lately, but I consider that to be a quality fantasy show. And then, of course, there's the Discovery of Witches, which JT has been raving about for pretty much for 12 months, and which has succeeded in adapting some really successful books that people dearly love, not offending fans, and growing a fan base.
Absolutely.
On what in the UK is a minority channel, JT. So in the time that Julie's been away from Doctor Who, it's likely that she's learned something as well, isn't it?
Oh, I think she's learned an awful lot, and that's why Bad Wolf has become very focused and very successful, because they have churned this thing out. And it's interesting watching Bad Wolf now, where the Discovery of Witches sets are being dismantled, and the Doctor Who ones are getting ready to go in. They're in that sort of lovely phase now where they must be excited over blueprints and designs and discussion, because they start filming next year. So it's very interesting that that's happening. But it's just, my concern is just, Russell, don't drop the T. Davies.
We have a comment here from Crimpling Doubloon in the chat who says that IMDb is still crediting Russell T. Davies as an executive producer on the Centenary Special.
Well, he is.
Now, I haven't seen that to know whether that's true or not.
He is an exec. Yeah, I mean, that was he's writing the Centenary Special, and he's an exec on it. Yes. And if it goes to series, which is going to be,
are we getting the Centenary Special mixed up with the 60th anniversary special?
The 60th special. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we've got that mixed up. But yeah,
different things. I would caution Crimpling Doubloon and say that things that are on IMDb aren't always right. And I don't believe that Russell will be involved in the Centenary Special. The thing they finished filming that. Now,
they finished
best part of 2 months ago. I understand it was all locked. It was all Chris Chibnall, but I would be interested in seeing if that's misinformation or not. I don't know, but
I think that's somebody getting it in the wrong place, like I've just done, because that was a BBC Studios only production, as Doctor Who is now. And when that finishes with the Jodie Whittaker series and the Chris Chibnall era has now finished, and it has now finished as a BBC Studios. When it hands over, the next credits you get in 2023 onwards will be BBC Studios and the Bad Wolf logo. So yeah, it means the 60th anniversary one.
The only possible reason I could see he could get any sort of credit, and this is very, very tiny, is if there's any link towards his era right at the end of the Centenary. Yes. That's the only reason I could see him getting a credit.
But then Moffat didn't get an on-screen credit for End of Time. I don't think there will be. I think there'll be a sort of clean break.
Do you know what? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the future of Doctor Who. I'm hopeful for the future of Doctor Who. Look. Let's just ride the wave and see where it goes. That's what I say.
Ride the wave. We're going to have to ride the. I'm going to have to stop.
Currents take us.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to stop it there.
Sink beneath the waves.
We've got our 3 first candidates for the Type 40 Companions of 2021 there lined up. So we've got Julie Gardner, Jamie Magnus Stone, and Christopher Eccleston there. They're our first 3 candidates. We're going to be putting a poll up in the Type 40 Facebook group over on the Facebook page and on the Twitter feed. We're going to be asking people what they think, who they would choose. And we're going to leave this up to you guys out there watching, listening, posting and commenting. You're going to get to choose who is the Type 40 Companion of 2021 in a couple of weeks. We're going to be back with 3 more talking points after the ad break. But before we get into that, there is an ad break. Of course, there's an ad break. But before we get into that,
I'm gonna go for a pee.
we've got a question. We've got a question for you guys on the panel and everybody out there watching along on YouTube and Facebook. So what we have here, if I can just get it up, what we have here is this is a smoking jacket, everybody. This is a John Pertwee smoking jacket, Barnaby. Do you think that would be a good fit? What do you think? There's plenty of sleeve room.
Oh yeah. There. Lots of sleeve there. Which episode was that from that he wore that?
This is the one that he wore in the story Planet of the Spiders. And it has been recently sold, would you believe? It's been sold at auction. And what I wanted to know from you guys in the chat, watching along with us this evening, and everybody on the panel tonight, is how much do you think that this Doctor Who relic actually sold for at auction? Have a think about that.
Because we did so well on the last time you asked us.
So, an authentic jacket as worn in his very final story.
You sure that's
John
spiders?
Pertwee there. So my information says. So this is a proper costume as worn by John Pertwee on Doctor Who. I want to know how much roughly you think this sold for at auction while we go into the designated Type 40 T or P break. If you've been holding something in or desperate to take something in, if you need your refreshment, go and do whatever you want, but keep one eye on the screen for these wonderful adverts from times and places past. Check it out. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes.
Hey guys, come look at this!
Step into another dimension and discover the new Seen It Doctor Who edition, a DVD game that's bigger on the inside, with a galaxy of real Doctor Who clips that test your knowledge, trivia questions, and puzzlers from the first 3 series, including
The Evolution of the Daleks!
Seen It Doctor Who edition, now available on Planet Earth.
In life, there are clever choices and not so clever choices. Choosing to go metal detecting in a farmer's field when there's a big angry bull nearby is a not so clever choice. Choosing to heat your off-grid home with an underground Calagas tank so you have more space in your garden is a clever choice. Make the clever choice. Switch to Cala.
Mr. Sherwood, can I have your esteemed opinion on my latest creation?
Delighted, Mr. Bannerjee. Succulent chicken, fenugreek, coriander, and fresh ginger. A perfectly excellent chicken korma. If you could deep freeze it, I'd take a few plates.
This way forward.
How deep do you want it frozen?
At last, authentic Indian food from the freezer.
If anyone would, Sherwood.
No, please, change. Ronald, how nice of you to stop.
It's all right, Miss Ames.
Oh, call me Joy, please. Oh, that's better, Ronald, isn't it? I do think a little Mantovani adds to the ambiance, don't you? There's something terribly sensuous about pounding rain. Oh, Ronnie, don't tell me you've run out of petrol.
No, I haven't. It's the distributor.
Didn't expect me to believe that, do you?
Whatever you drive, fit AC Delco car parts, or one day your car will get even.
You naughty boy.
Wouldn't be allowed today.
God no.
You know, that jacket, I think that's more Planet of the Daleks. The John Pertwee one, I think it's more Planet of the Daleks than Spiders.
Well, you could be right, but yes, thanks for staying with us, and I hope you enjoyed the adverts. There was a good mixed bag in there of various doctors in various guises, and we'll do our best to fertile out whatever we can from TV times past when adverts were, well, all over the place, weren't they? So before the break, I asked you about the John Pertwee jacket, didn't I? And how much you thought that relic, as worn by Pertwee, supposedly, certainly in his final season, if not his final story, I can't say which at the moment, but the information I've got says Planet of the Spiders. But how much do you guys here on the chat think that sold for? But let's ask the people on the panel first. How much do you think that the jacket, as sported here by Peter Capaldi, in fact, how much do you think
that's definitely Daleks, because he wore a black one in Spiders. There's Mark Gatiss there, so yeah, it's there. I've just seen Garbage saying in the chat there, lot 262 Doctor Who, John Pertwee's jacket from Planet of the Daleks. There we go. So yeah, I can sleep easy now. I reckon about 6,500.
Oh, I think a bit more.
6.5 with JC.
Yes, I'd say way over like 10,000 or something like that, because they sold the Starbug from Red Dwarf for a hell of a lot of money recently. It's people who love this kind of stuff. Starbug, the model Starbug from Red Dwarf, they sold
Red Dwarf
for a lot of money. But that
I think this would be 19,000 or something.
Yeah,
like that,
Derek says 7, right?
I wouldn't go that far. I'd say about 15, maybe.
15?
Maximum 15.
Yeah.
15. How about you, Charlotte? What do you think?
God, I'm so 10, but that's probably really under. I don't know anything enough about these.
It's probably 50 or something like that. I'm pretty surprised.
I'm going to be wrong anyway, so I'm going to go somewhere that says 25,000.
Oof.
25. The story slams down.
You might be
25
close.
big Ks for that.
Yeah.
We think 25k, and people in the chat are taking punts absolutely everywhere. We've got $7,000 here from Derek Brady. We've got 13k from Blue Planet, 14k for Garbage. Lots of people taking a punt on this. But yeah, this is the John Pertwee jacket at sporting there by Peter Capaldi, who looks absolutely thrilled to be wearing it, doesn't he? Having his photograph taken by Mark Gatiss there. And it did indeed, Garbage, sell for, I think Garbage actually did go and look this up. It did sell for $14,000.
$14,000.
Unsurprisingly, the man who went and looked it up knows the price that it sold for. Yes, yes, it's $14,000. So, but I think Barnaby, you're the closest, certainly on the panel.
Yeah, I win.
Well played. Yeah. So, I mean, can you imagine how it must feel, though, to, I imagine you've been fitted for several costumes over the years, Barnaby. So when you slide on something that you have to wear, if you're wearing something that has a storied history on the screen, how that must feel, how Peter might have felt there.
Yeah, I would have exactly that same expression on my face. Just, the history behind it, particularly Planet of the Daleks is an amazing episode anyway. So just, the history in it as well. Just thinking like, John Pertwee wore this.
I hope they washed it. That's all I can say.
Nah, you wouldn't want, you'd want the smell of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear it.
You'd want his sweaty funky. Yeah. No. It's the smell of John. Yeah.
No. That would still horrible. No.
You wouldn't wear it, even though you're a Pertwee Manny and you'd insist that it.
Love Pertwee. Love Pertwee. I love Peter as well. I would never wear it though. No. Unless they dry cleaned it, then it would have been fine. I would always dry clean it.
I'd be frightened of wearing that at that price in case you spilt something on it because it's velvet, so therefore it's there. That's
the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you would think it's an item that was made for screen rather than mass produced. It's how can I put this? Not to put too much of a slight on the BBC costume department, it's not a quality garment that's built to last. It was probably made to be on screen just for a few weeks, and then for all they knew, it was consigned to a cupboard. They might bring it out for a costume drama in 10, 12 years' time. That'd be it.
That's the thing with costumes. I mean, the pop memorabilia is the same thing. I mean, Madonna's famous gold corset from the Blonde Ambition tour in 1990 went for something like 150. You know, I mean, unbelievable prices. You know, these things are these icons, and some of these costumes are iconic.
You talk about icons. We're about to be joined by another icon.
Oh no! Please,
hurtling out of his own time, Eddie. It's the original lunatic for Doctor Who Day, Mr. Simon Horton. Good to see you, mate.
Hello, everybody. Happy Doctor Who Day, happy anniversary, as we used to call it back in the days. It was just happy anniversary.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right.
And you're just in time. You're just in time.
Who's left? Who left? Just as I arrived.
What happened to Charlotte?
That's rude, Charlotte. I'm disappointed. I walk in the door.
Charlotte, where are you?
Left.
I'm so sorry I'm late, everybody.
She'll be back.
Cropping up at the last
in a moment.
How are we for time?
Quite all right. Hope you've had a good evening. We're overrunning as usual, but we're about to get stuck into the second block of the Doctor Who Companions of 2021. This is our selection of the great and the good, depending on how you look at it, of people who may get awarded the prestigious title of the Type 40 Companion of 2021 in a couple of weeks on our Christmas show. So we've had 3 names in the hat already. We're about to go with Ian David Diaz and his pick.
What 2021 though? But I haven't watched any of Doctor Who this
okay,
year.
Well, you've chosen Louise Jameson.
Oh, I've chosen her.
Okay, you chose Louise Jameson. So I want you to tell us why have you chosen Louise Jameson for your companion of 2021? And welcome back to Charlotte Shields. Don't know what happened there.
And Simon knocked me off. That's what happened.
It's my fault.
So tell us about Louise Jameson, then, Ian, and why.
What? There's no reason why. There's no reason. I mean, look, I just picked her because I love Leela. That's all. And you know, that's that. Really, you know, I can't think of anything to say this year.
I think Louise Jameson is a strong nominee for pretty much any year. Come to think of it, Simon.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just sorry. I just got distracted there by Matthew Pounder's comment. The Queen is back.
They don't mean Louise, they do mean you, Charlotte. So yeah, this is Louise Jameson, the 70-year-old actress, famous for theatre and TV work. She was born in 1951, English actress with a variety of TV and theatre credits to her name, including Dr. Anne Reynolds in The Omega Factor, Blanche Simmons in Tenko. There was Susan, who was Bergerac's on-off girlfriend, wasn't she, in the series of the same name, and even a stint on EastEnders as Rosa DeMarco. But so many theatre credits to her name, it's just ridiculous. Wouldn't even know where to start. But this year, Louise, she was born in Essex, and went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art and spent 2 years with the Shakespeare Company before first appearing on television and being cast by Pennant Roberts as Leela in Doctor Who opposite Tom Baker in 1977. So this is a woman who is celebrating this year her 50th year in the acting profession, which I think is so it's timely really that we talk about her in terms of 2021. So here she is on screen as Leela. The various aspects of this, I think, really quite a wonderful character that Louise brought to life. I won't say from very little. I think it was quite strong on the page initially, but she remained true to the character and always gave it her best, I think.
The reason why I like Leela so much is because that she was not from the typical, she was from another planet. And also, I like her as an actress as well. I've seen her in lots of stuff, and she's really good. Even in her 70s, she's really good. But I also, you got to take your hat off to her. She did all her stunts in Doctor Who. You know, there were no stunt people to double her. She leapt from the stairs in one episode, right down with the knife in her hand. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, you got to take your hat off to her. And also she's sexy as well, as far as I'm concerned. So there you go.
A wonderful actress and so relatable, I think, isn't she, JT? You've met Louise a few times, I would imagine. What's she like in real life?
She's very much what you see is what you get. She's very approachable. She's lovely to talk to. She's very charming with fans. But she has been around for a wee while now, so she knows how these things work and how the conventions work. She's a hard worker. Big up to her for always working and doing some lovely pieces. So yeah.
I just want to add to that. I've met her a couple of times, and she's just adorable. She's just one of the nicest people you could possibly hope to meet, and she's so proud of her Doctor Who credits, but also she's so proud of everything she's done. She's just a gorgeous human being. She really is just she's one of those people you just want to sit down with and have a cup of tea and a sticky bun with, because she's just one of those kind of people you can just have a good old chat with. She's lovely, adorable.
Well, in all of her roles, and strangely in Leela too, she's kind of relatable, and I don't know why some actors just have that.
She is, and also, as I said, it looked on the first glance, it looks like she was doing nothing to the character, but then when you look at it again, you can see that her performance is very subtle, but it means 100 different things when she says a word, or when she's, especially in my brain's gone on freeze. The one with the robots, the killer robots. What was that one?
Robots of Death.
Yeah, Robots of Death. Sorry, the Robots of Death. She's absolutely fantastic in that. It's like, sorry, my brain went on freeze for some reason.
But again, it shows what we were illustrating before the break. Give an actor a script and direct them properly, and encourage them and bring out their talent. I mean, what Lou got right with Leela is she understood immediately this is a savage warrior.
Yes.
And by God, she plays that, but she also brings down that sort of innocent charm of that savage warrior, to be able to say this warrior is out of her time everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think she's one of the most underrated actresses to ever take part in the show. Yeah. I just think her performance as Leela is just utterly sublime, and it's a really difficult role to pull off. On the paper, it would have looked very, very flat and uninteresting. Oh, it's just a savage. That's all there is to it. And yet she brings so much to it, and the other thing you've got to bear in mind with Louise Jameson is she was working against a very, very belligerent Tom Baker by his own admission at this point. He really didn't want another companion on the show at this point. We're back to the talking cabbage, that this is the point he wanted a talking cabbage, not Leela. And he was horrible to her. But again, by his own admission, he apologises now how horrible he was to her. And she was really miserable and depressed. And I think, she was even considering whether or not to even come back for the second series, because she was having such a miserable time with Tom, and yet she still manages to act as brilliantly as she does, and as beautiful.
Going back to her talent as well, the costume doesn't help, of course. I mean, it's all right for her initial story, because that's what everybody was, that's where she's from, but then to take that character out of time and keep it in that costume, Lou rose above that. She was saying, look, there's more to this character than this leotard I've been given. And especially at the time, with everything that was going on in the world at the time as well, her talent shines through. So a very strong and credible. And if you've ever seen her on stage as well, Spacebookers, you'll know, my God, that woman acts.
Yeah, also, I like the idea that she was the one that dealt physically with the physical stuff, and the Doctor would be doctorish. And if anybody would try, she'd always beat somebody up, even if it's badly choreographed.
She was believable.
Beat somebody up.
Like in recent movies and TV shows, you get this like really skinny woman who's supposed to, can beat up anybody.
Yeah.
But because she got the physicality, she was fast.
Yes.
Somebody mentioned in the chat how dynamic she was. You believed that she could come up behind you and just slit your throat.
Yeah, but it was for the dads, wasn't it? I mean, that costume was definitely for the dads watching.
Well, it was partly that, but they realised they were onto a winner, obviously, when they saw Lou in the thing. But and that's part of the reason it never changed. But if you look at that first story, that's the only time it ever fits. And again, that's the only time Leela fits into that, because that's the brilliant thing about Face of Evil. It's very much about Leela and her tribe and that story. Yeah. But when you take Leela in the costume out of that and take her around the universe, Lou got that. She really got that. Yes. This warrior, this savage, is not going to be at home anywhere, which is why the ending is always a bit odd. Why girlfriend?
That's
another show. Another show.
It's really brought it to life for me. I've got a quote here from Screen Online. They talk about Louise Jameson more so in context as a woman who rose to notoriety in the 70s and has never really been off screen since. Says that Louise Jameson is one of a handful of actresses who both benefited from and contributed to the opening out of roles for women on British television during the 1970s and into the 80s, when she became associated with a series of tough, resourceful and independent characters in genres where women had conventionally been either victims or vamps.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that you're absolutely correct there with Louise Jameson and with Tenko generally, and Louise in particular.
Tenko in particular.
So, you know, we hear now all about how women need more big, important roles. Well, maybe they do at this moment in time, but they sure as heck didn't back then. There were plenty of them, brilliant, juicy roles. And you look at Tenko, and everybody accepted and loved Tenko. I mean, I adore Tenko.
Brilliant.
And you adored it because it was brilliant television, rather than because you were being told, oh, we've got to have strong females on television. Where, you know what I mean? They just did good television with good quality, strong female roles, and everybody loved it. This is not, what we're trying to constantly drum home these days is nothing new. It was all there back then.
But the difference was back then is that these were original female characters that were made to be original female characters. Now they can't do that. Now they have to take something that's been established and gender bend it, you know, and change it to say, right now it's a woman's turn to do that. That's the main difference. And look, Lou managed to do all that in a bloody leotard.
Yes.
I mean, crying out loud. You
Or
know?
in Tenko, she did it in rags with you know. It's great. She's a brilliant actress. Brilliant.
But the fact that you're bringing up the outfit shows also that in the character you had obviously the feminine traits of the outfit and what she looked like, and there was no escaping that. But she was, like Starry said, she could slit your throat. So it was this brilliant combination of the feminine and the tough. And that's what also you don't get nowadays. It's all one way.
You can't be feminine these days.
Yeah, you're right, Charlotte. And of course, what's interesting is that she would slit your throat, and yet you would still love her as a character. You wouldn't be alienated from her as a character as a result. That's a really fine line to walk, and she walked it, and she did it brilliantly.
Charlotte, can I ask, have you seen The Face of Evil?
Yes.
Right.
It's JT, isn't it?
Have you seen what the men are wearing? I don't find that funny. Have you seen what the men are wearing in that episode?
Oh, I can't remember right now. Are they just as
they're wearing a lot less, even less than Lou?
The men wear less than Lou does.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
because they are savages. They are warriors. They're animal skins, and that's the context of the story, which again you don't get today because you just get a token female character.
And looking over onto the chat here.
Yeah, go on. I was just
looking over into the chat here on YouTube. We've got several comments here from people sharing their love, not just of Leela, but of Louise Jameson generally. Darren Bradley says she was 26 at the time that those photographs that we've just been looking at, they were taken. And Derek Brady mentions the fact that she was a strong female character in Doctor Who and before Jodie Whittaker. Surely not. Blue Planet says that Type 40 always gets me wanting to rewatch something. In this case, they mean
story.
The robots of
one of
death.
my favourites. Yeah.
Julian Raxel says her performance in Talons is just remarkable.
Yeah, she changed her outfit in that one as well.
She did in a lot of the stories. I loved her in Horror Fang Rock.
That's probably my favourite scene. Sorry, that's probably my favourite scene of her as well. When she's in, she's trying to sit down for a civilized meal with like. I mean, that is what they took that savage part and put the next the most Victorian civilized gentleman ever. And it was clearly, and it's a recipe for hilarity.
Thing.
Exactly. The whole thing about Leela is that there was a sort of arc there, and it was the My Fair Lady arc. You know, the Doctor was supposed to be teaching this savage.
Alison Stevenson says here, and I either didn't know this or I'd completely forgotten, Louise did not know what costume she would be wearing in Doctor Who until she actually turned up for filming. There was no fitting beforehand. That seems...
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like the BBC.
Peter Harrington says Tenko is fantastic. And Robert Payne says, even in Bergerac, her character was no nonsense. I remember it being playing a very strong character in that show.
She even looked gorgeous in that as well.
She was. In fact, spoilers for anybody planning on watching Bergerac. I think they killed the character. The character was murdered about halfway through, and the fan base was distraught at that. And I don't think that Bergerac ever really recovered from Louise leaving the show, looking back.
Yeah.
No, maybe not.
He became Detective Barnaby, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
The guy played it. Yeah.
So, earlier on this year, Louise Jameson was the subject of an entire audience with style. I think it was a 3-night theatre event that was put on for her somewhere in Norfolk. I think it was, I can't remember exactly where it was, Weston-super-Mare, somewhere like that. And I just thought that was a lovely thing to do for somebody who's, I think even the British public who can't put a face to the name will recognise her, will know her voice.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And will have seen her in something. She has to be one of the best.
Well, especially our generation, she will be known for Leela. I mean, when she went into EastEnders, the press was full of Leela in EastEnders. Because our generation will know, because we grew up with her. She did a year, but we grew up with Leela.
The thing about that generation of actors was that all they wanted to do was perform, right? So whether it be stage or film or TV, all they want to. Now actors want to be famous.
That's all it is.
Huge difference between them. Do you know what I mean? And
a huge difference because they can't act. And all you have to do is look at television today.
Well, and also, again, if this was today now, we would constantly be being endlessly reminded about how Leela is such a strong female character, and it would be constantly hit over the head. Whereas again, in those days, no, they just wrote good stories and they acted them well, and they just went and
and also everybody has to remember the Doctor's an alien, right? So when she was dressed in that as JT saying a leotard, it didn't matter to him. Do you know what I mean? It didn't make no difference to him what she was wearing.
That was the magic of the character.
He
was an alien, and he didn't have human attributes, which is why they've bullsed up the modern version of Doctor Who, because they've given him feelings which he wouldn't have because he's not human.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's, again, a nice choice, a timely choice, being as Louise is celebrating 50 years in the business and somebody who's always been there. So, I think that's a really good pick. Over to, now, I hadn't got anybody lined up for the Bad Wolf of 2021 award this year, but I know somebody who has. So we're going to go over to JT now, because you've picked somebody or something, haven't you, that you want to talk about in particular for 2021, because you feel that they've particularly made the radar, probably not the kind of way that they would have wanted to or intended to, but nevertheless you feel it's their turn to take a little fire, don't you? So do you want to tell us why you want to talk about Big Finish Productions for a few minutes?
I don't really want to talk about Bog Fanish, but stand by your beds. Because I'm going
to my ears.
I think 2021 has been a disastrous year for this production company. I am not a fan of this production company, as the Space Bookers will know.
Not, JT. You've hidden that well.
Certainly not. And I think this year has shown just how ridiculous they can be. So what I'm going to talk about specifically here is the fact that for no reason at all, they cheated Jimmy Dreyfuss dirt and fired him from his role as the master on these CDs.
Yeah, and this is something that we heard about several months ago and has now become common knowledge, hasn't it? Thanks to GB News interviewed James Dreyfuss about that, didn't they?
Absolutely. I mean, if you followed this story on Twitter for quite a long time, you will know that what happened is that Big Finish are so frightened, like the elements of the BBC, of alleged trans activists, that because he supported a phenomenally successful woman called J.K. Rowling, who some of you may have heard, who defends women's rights, and because he signed a letter supporting what she was preaching, what she was saying about the difference between men and women's rights, and then because he actually had the balls to sign an open letter to Stonewall to say, look, you cannot tell people how to run their lives or what their opinions are. There must be a reasoned debate, which was the stance at the time from them, was no debate over these matters. You do what we tell you. He was got at by various small aspects of Doctor Who fandom, which I was disgusted at.
It was reprehensible
Absolutely
behaviour. I think,
disgusted.
regardless of where you feel about that issue, the way that James Davies was publicly rounded on was completely indefensible.
And what's happened with that is, of course, that, and I think he's now started to look at things slightly differently because other Doctor Who fans have supported him to say, well, this was terrible and blah, blah, blah. But for a while there, I genuinely believe he thought Doctor Who fans, all Doctor Who fans, were absolute nutters that needed to be avoided at all times. So I was totally embarrassed by this. And this has come through this unnecessary gender change, the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era, and what's been generated through them. So the way that Big Finish dealt with that, of course, is that they just removed his name from the audios they did and fired him without telling him, which was just disgraceful. And I thought that was just because they were frightened of trans activists. And then a few months later, they cancelled John Barrowman for something that happened over 10 years ago, which we all know about, and which was dealt with over 10 years ago by the likes of Julie Gardner in a professional, consistent manner, and which should have been nailed on the head. And to know that there's people going through people's social media accounts and spending their life digging things up just to get all this sort of stuff. I mean, get a bloody life and get a job. And what they do, Big Finish, they cancelled that. They've scrapped the Jim Dreyfus one with Tom Baker he recorded. Although I believe now, since the GB News article, they're bringing that out. The John Barrowman one with Dave Tennant.
They've had a complete turnaround about certainly releasing that.
But they haven't made it known, is it? So if the alleged trans activists, if they found out, would go mad. They would absolutely go mad. And we know that at some point they're going to bring the Barrowman and Tennant one out. Because it's Barrowman and Tennant together. So that'll happen again. But what gets me about this whole thing is just they're so hypocritical because they've allowed certain actors, and I'm going to say them, Marina Sirtis and Colin Baker, who are also equally vocal in their opinions on social media.
Marina Sirtis in particular, that has surprised me now you come to mention it, yeah.
Yeah, but they've allowed them to continue working with them, and they've allowed them...
About subjects that are just as divisive, aren't they? And
equally so.
Good point, because I don't know much about the issue, as I suspect not many of us do. We just hear whispers of it and whatever. But Mr. Dreyfus, he was speaking about something that he obviously felt personally passionate enough about. And I think for us to see that reaction to it from Big Finish, it was surprising.
It was pathetic.
The response was the response, as you said, was nothing short of cowardly, and it was surprising from them. I think
shallow.
They needn't have even acknowledged it at all.
All they were doing is they were terrified of these alleged trans activists.
I'm a fan of Big Finish. I buy a lot of Big Finish. I listen to a lot of Big Finish, and I think that they're generally a quality product. I don't think this year has been a particularly strong year for them. I think that they are, how can I put this? They're in a period where they may have saturated the market quite a lot, and they need to reset, maybe.
It's not just that.
I also think that the way that they handle instances like this at social media, that their interaction with the fan base, I think they're starting to lose perspective a little as to who their target audience are, who buys their product. And I would hate to see this line of merchandise certainly disappear completely. I want to continue receiving quality productions from Big Finish.
But what you've got here is you've now got the danger. I mean, they've shown the point about Colin and Marina being retained and hired by them is simply because there's a perception there of what is the correct opinion and the correct thing to have, and they obviously have it. So what Big Finish have done is they actually illustrated absolutely 100% what line they're on. So when Marina Sirtis goes kicking off about her absolute politics and Colin says all his politics, that's the right politic.
Yeah,
and you can't have the other stuff. That's the hypocrisy that gets me. And what also gets me from Doctor Who fandom, and if anybody's going to get offended about this is your problem. You can go around as a Doctor Who fan and criticising the Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era, and then you'll go and buy a Big Finish product, which is exactly the same thing because it's all coming through there. And they're cancelling certain actors and doing that. No, it is because they've fired James.
I think there's connective tissue, and obviously, I think they work closer together than people are aware across BBC studios. But I don't think we can. I mean, to level that at the people who just want to be entertained, and particularly people who may not get that from current on-screen Doctor Who, and may see a version of a Doctor Who that they recognise, or at least hear it on audio, and to reach for that. I think that's understandable. And if
I think it shows a lack of awareness, because if you're going to have a production company that is saying, well, you can't work for us and you can't work for us, but you can because you're not going to get us into trouble, that tells me an awful lot. That says it works a similar way
as you were saying earlier on about several matters, there are certain things that the general public have no concept of, and there are certain matters that even a large portion of fan base has no real idea of. There are people who watch our show and listen to our podcasts, and even that were part of our Type 40 Facebook group, that had no idea that all this stuff with James Dreyfus was going on.
Absolutely.
Because most of it happened just on Twitter. And it seems strange to me that one social media platform, it's always this one, where there's all the trouble and the drama and the campaigns and the cancelling and the targeting and the bullying. It's
although that has come into Facebook now as well, as we've seen actually today on the Type 40 page. It is there now.
Through a little onto Facebook too. I agree, but what you call awareness, these are issues and politics, or even business matters, one could say, that for the person who clocks in and clocks out, and Doctor Who is something that they are perhaps only partly connected with, apart from the fiction, they won't be aware of any of this either, will they?
And why aren't they aware of it? I mean, well, yes, there is a reason
there should be.
Yeah, absolutely there is, because what they're doing is they are so frightened of a small minority. They're putting people out of work or not hiring people. And because a small minority agrees with this other voice, they're keeping them. Now, that is sheer hypocrisy there. There's no balance there at all.
But what I'm saying is the connection, though, between the philosophy and the culture at BBC Studios being directly connected to what goes on.
I'm not mentioning BBC Studios here at all. I'm not interested in BBC Studios.
You're the one. Yeah, but you are the one who you've said that if you're saying you don't support the Jodie Whittaker version of Doctor Who, but you're happy to buy Big Finish, and they're kind of the same thing. I think for most people there is a massive disconnect between those two.
Well, why is there a massive disconnect? No, I'm going to challenge you on that. Why? Because if you're criticising the wokeness of the Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era, then why aren't you criticising the wokeness that's creeping into Big Finish? When their woke attitude is cancelling an actor like Jimmy Dreyfus or John. Now that's an example there of sheer hypocrisy. The audience.
Well, I think that that kind of content has definitely made its way into Big Finish's content, their actual production.
Yeah. So why are you supporting Big Finish?
And people have noticed, and I think reviews have reflected that as well. I mean, I haven't heard. I'm selective about what I buy from Big Finish simply because of the fact they make so much of it. But there are people like the Rabbi from Another Planet who listen to a great deal of their output.
And yet he'll criticise the Jodie Whittaker, Chris Chibnall era. So
yeah, but
I don't get it. Why one and not the other?
Well, he does openly criticise in his reviews.
But he's still buying.
And he's not the only one. People are still buying. You have to buy it to find out whether you like it or not. To find out whether that product is to your tastes.
Again, I think it comes down to this misguided loyalty that Doctor Who fans especially have towards anything with the Doctor Who logo on. I'm very lucky in that I've got an ability to go cut the cord, sod it. I'm not interested. Others don't seem to have that because they are loyal to the brand, even if it's been dragged through the mud, as it is now.
Makes you or anybody else who's got that harder line, particularly there, I don't think that makes you any more or any less of a fan of this show and part of this community. And I completely understand your reasoning behind it.
Yeah, but I do feel that there is that sort of. If you're not aware of these things, then you need to look at a little bit more. But I do think, from my point of view, this business is totally out of order this year, and that's why I wanted to bring them in, because I just think
I don't think it's been a good year for them, and they could absolutely have handled all of that a lot better.
Well, they shouldn't be frightened of a small, extreme minority of alleged activists that are working only on Twitter, and they were, and they sacked. With the most monstrous way of ever doing it by not telling him, a very talented actor who will now never ever want anything more to do with this show in whatever format it's in, and I think that's a great shame.
I do see, and I do wonder, because it has, they've announced I think it was in August time that they were going to be effectively there'll be a soft relaunch of Big Finish in early 2022, a restructure of their line of Doctor Who adventures in particular. And this starts, there's going to be 12 new audio series, one for each of the Doctors from the past television incarnations. and each series will then release one new installment per year as box sets, with releases staggered all the way from January through to December. So there's this stronger, reasserted, realigned initiative as regards products. I would like to think. I mean, these are troubling times, and I suppose, Sarah, you used the word cowardly. Mm-hmm. There are people out there who are very, very vocal and who seem to be very, very powerful and influential. And when they click their fingers and demand somebody is cancelled or denied work or denied platform wherever, that does seem to manifest and to happen. And whilst I'm not excusing Big Finish at all, I think they could have handled that situation completely differently. I think James Dreyfus was done a terrible disservice, and I think that it does look as if James has effectively uncancelled himself after that interview with GB News. It's really brought it to light, and a lot of people, when it was not exactly brought, this wasn't headline news, but the broader Doctor Who fan base became aware of it. There was a lot of people asking Big Finish, well, why would you do that? Mm-hmm. It'd be interesting to see where they go next year, and maybe if James is interested, and I think it'd be completely understandable for an actor of his caliber and of his profile, you could understand if he would turn them down. But if they approach him and maybe to recreate the role again in the future, I don't know. If they can't repair their relationship with James Dreyfus, I hope they do sort of learn from it going on, and that next year.
Why would he want to? Why would he want to go back to a company that treated him so badly?
Probably would.
He's a very proud guy. He doesn't need them. I mean, I know he's preparing. No. He's possibly doing a one-man show next year, with various characters he's created. And if he does that, then fantastic. But I can't see him going back to, and I can't see them having the balls to ask him back because they are frightened of alleged activists.
People in the chat have also. Well, there's a lot of people who agree with you for a start, and there's a lot of people who didn't really understand the scope of the situation with James Dreyfus before that GB News broke. It's Matthew Pounder says it's difficult letting any of this stuff go. Problem being says just simply keep activism out of our Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, everything, not just Doctor Who. I mean, it's happening again, isn't it, with Harry Potter? And
it's true. That is true.
It's happening across all.
Garbage says, I am watching Jodie Doctor Who. I don't want to, but I feel I must. I love that JT can do that.
Can do what?
To not watch it. Could. I mean, it's interesting that Garbage there has said that he feels he must, and that's what I'm talking about. There's a misplaced loyalty. I reckon if people actually didn't watch it, it would be down to just over 1 million now, and those millions would be the so-called activists that are watching it just purely because she's a woman.
I don't watch it.
Well, that's where you and I have managed to do it.
80s fanboy here draws attention to the fact that the BBC has now dumped Stonewall.
Allegedly.
I'm not in possession of all the facts about that. I don't know a great deal about Stonewall or the situation. So anybody who's interested in further reading on this, go and I would imagine do a Google search, find out the latest news on what the score is there. Because the whole thing with Stonewall, I don't know how long ago that was that James Dreyfus was involved in that. Or where that, whatever, a letter he signed, how that ended up, how that ultimately played out. But in terms of his career and his role with Doctor Who on audio, obviously it didn't end well, and the relationship with Big Finish seems to have been soured by that. His perception of the Doctor Who fan base was understandably quite coloured by his experiences on social media. I would like to think that
they were horrible. Those fans, horrible.
If he never plays the part again. He will at least have happier experiences with maybe some of you watching and listening out there. If you enjoy James Dreyfus' portrayal of the Master on Big Finish, please let him know. If you go and see any of his shows, if you ever bump into the guy, shake his hand and say thank you, because it does seem he's been done a serious disservice. And I certainly wish him well in everything. In his future career.
What Big Finish have done this year is highlighted the absolute problem with show business as a whole. Because you can't say anything now. You will be judged. You have to toe the line. There are lots of people in the industry that are against this stuff and are terrified
it makes
to say anything.
Sense. I mean, look how quiet we all are. Just knowing that this is even being aired here.
I'm not quiet. Bring it on.
He's not quiet. He's not quiet.
I'm not in full possession. I don't have the breadth of understanding of other people about the topic. So I do try not to speak about things I don't know too much about, and just to listen a little bit more. And I do feel that if anything, and I'm not about to preach to the entirety of Twitter, but I think that Twitter generally could do with listening a little more. Blue Planet says that my tolerance for this behaviour is thin now. I'm compelled to stop funding companies that go woke or cancel people unfairly. They don't deserve our money. There's a hard line there from Blue Planet.
Yep.
Problem being, says JT, is simply making a plea to remember that if you don't support the BBC for woke programming and their cancellation mob, Big Finish has done the same. Do you want to fund that? And it's... he
has a point. He has a very good point there. And you know what? Seriously, actors should stay off Twitter. That's what they should do.
I agree.
Stay off Twitter.
I've always thought that. I think politicians should also stay off Twitter on both sides of the Atlantic.
I totally agree.
If you're a public figure, then I think it's
stay off it. Just stay off it.
I agree with Ian. Yeah, it's easy to do that. I mean, back in the day, you didn't know an actor's political persuasions. You may guess. Yeah.
I'm still not
you
interested
didn't
in
know,
the political beliefs
and therefore they didn't alienate their audience. And what's happening now is that there is a divide in everything because everybody is now taking sides, and there's no respect for the honor of democracy anymore. And you have to be seen to be doing stuff because you are terrified that these little small yappy type dogs who call themselves activists are going to come and bite you. And we've seen that running through in the last version of Doctor Who, which has been a spectacular failure because of it. So, it's worrying.
This failure can all be traced back to this wave, this culture war, whatever you want to call it. Lord Thoth says it isn't just Doctor Who, it's all our pop culture favourites. It is madness to watch this train wreck. It's like watching an accident happen right before your eyes. It's hard to look away.
Do you know what? I was interviewed recently, and I was after the interview. I was talking to the person that was interviewing me, and he was a true normie, and we were talking about this very same subject, and he didn't get it. And that's why I understand why people are like this now, because no matter what logic I threw at him, he couldn't see it. So that's how they are. What else can you?
Just want to say thank you to Charlotte Shields for joining us tonight. She had to pop off.
Hi, Charlotte.
Bye.
Anyway,
thanks for saying goodbye.
I think she did. I think she did.
I did too.
But anyway, that was the thing about what when I was asked to do this, because I didn't realize it all had to be. I mean, to be honest though, I would have struggled this year to have nominated anybody because I'm just so not invested in any part of the show anymore. I'm generally, my life is very busy as it is. I am not interested in what's going on right now. I don't have hopes for the future anymore after Russell Don't Drop the T's rant the other week. I just don't know where my place in Doctor Who fandom will be in the future. I have no clue. My Doctor Who finished in 1989.
Well, you know what? I agree with you, JT, but I still want to put faith in Russell T. Let's see what he does.
I wish I could, but after what he said the other week, no.
Yeah, I hear you, JT. I hear you.
I will watch it very happily when it comes back, as long as I like the lead. I will not watch it if it's a female, but if it's an actor that I think can pull the role off, I will watch it and then I'll judge it. We'll see.
Your place is with us, JT. This is your place.
Well, as long as they keep bringing out the versions of the Blu-ray, that's quite happy, isn't it?
Okay, well, thanks for that, JT. I know it's something that you feel very passionate about. I think a great many of us do. And as somebody who is a long-term listener of Big Finishers, I know that you used to be. I'd like to think that certainly creatively they turn the corner next year, and they maybe start to sort of thin out the product a little and reconnect with that sort of. I think that it used to be a prestige line. I think they just make a little bit too much of it. I think for the quality control to stay high, and also for us to be enthused, because we can't permanently be enthused. Even those of us who love what you're doing, I think that when the next big event is only 7 to 10 days away from the last big event, as I think I've said before, then it becomes much of a muchness. And I certainly want the line to continue. I think it is, generally speaking, creatively, safe hands with Big Finish. I think they are the best at what they do. And I do stay away from anything that the rabbi tells me is woke, because these things, they're not cheap. But I think that at the end of the day, they have a customer base, and they can't afford to even test the boundaries of the whole.
Well, they have done this year. They really have done this year.
Or the going broke thing.
I look forward if anybody from Big Finish is watching, I look forward to seeing you at any possible future conventions I may have to attend. I've got a few things to tell you.
Okay, we're going to have one last entrant now into the possible winner of the Companions of 2021. Who's going to win this year? You've got to choose from any of the people that we've been speaking about this evening, but here is one last person for you to consider. And we're going to go over to Simon Horton to tell us about this gentleman. Why have you nominated?
Hold on a second. Oh, no. Take him off. I'm not ready yet. Take him off. Okay. I'm going to cheer it all up now because that's been really, really miserable. I'm really depressed now.
Hang on a minute. It wasn't miserable. That's my opinion. That's not miserable at all.
I know, but I'm just saying, no, it's fine. So I'm just saying that's fine. So let's try and cheer it back up again a little bit. Because no, look. Let's just try and cheer it up a little bit because it's Doctor Who and we're here to celebrate Doctor Who. So I want to talk about happy stuff just for a moment. So that's fine. I agree with you, JT, to be totally clear. I totally 100% agree. So I'm just saying, we're going to talk about, I'm just trying to get it back to a little bit of cheery stuff, which is, firstly, I want to answer Crimpling Doubloon, who wants to know whether I'm wearing Romana's bathing costume from the Leisure Hive. Absolutely. And secondly, to answer Blue Planet, yes, it is an official season 18 Doctor Who scarf. I think they're still available, so go out and get them. Anyway, here we go. So yes, my companion for 2022 undoubtedly is the brilliant Neil Cole, without any question whatsoever. I didn't need to even think about this when I knew we were going to come up with a companion for 2022.
Friend of the show, Neil Cole, as well as been guest several times on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil has just had the thing with Neil is, bless him, he had such a tough time because he opened the museum literally not long before lockdown, before COVID really hit. He got about a year to start to build himself up. And then it all started to sort of go downhill with COVID, and he had to close, and now he's reopening, and he's recently had the reopening with Sophie Aldred there, which has been great. But it's not been tough. It's not been easy, rather, for any of these small businesses, and Neil's is no exception. And yet he's kept so positive throughout all of this. Neil himself, bless him, has had COVID recently and he's still suffering from COVID, and he's having a really tough time, and he's still trying to keep the museum going and keep enthusiasm there, and he does it in spades. Neil
Which museum is this? For the people out there who don't know, Simon, what's the name of Neil Cole's museum, and where
this is the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi, which is up in Allendale, in Northumberland, and it's just one of the best places you will ever go to. If you're a Doctor Who fan and you've not been to this yet, you must make a journey up there and go and have a look at it, because it's brilliant. And the big thing as well this year, Neil very kindly got lent Broton, the original Broton from Terror of the Zygons by Mike Tucker, which is fantastic. So there's so much to go and see there. Neil is constantly putting so many new exhibits on display. This is, this is just one of the best places you can possibly go as a Doctor Who fan. In fact, to be honest, it's about the only place you can go as a Doctor Who fan and see some of this stuff. And this is all his private collection of costumes and all the rest of it, and props from Doctor Who. But he's very kindly just literally put them on display, opened his doors and said to everybody, come and see all this stuff that you are not going to see anywhere else, because so much of this stuff just disappears behind closed doors into private collections that nobody ever sees. These are genuine, most of the stuff that Neil has got up there is genuine screen-used stuff. Props.
These are, in many cases, Simon, they are things that Neil saved from skips or rescued from people who'd bought them at auction and maybe never really knew what to do with them. And so they've sat in lofts sometimes for 10, 20 years. Things that he has personally restored or refurnished.
He's restored them incredibly. So the work that he's done, the amount of work and the length of time that he puts into restoring these, and the money that he puts into restoring these for a future generation, and then puts them on display for everybody to see. It's just incredible, and he's worked so hard at this, and he's had so many knockbacks, so much tough time. What, bless him! Earlier on this year,
Council were against him, weren't they? A couple of years ago, he really has had uphill battles every step of the way.
Earlier on this year, mice got into some of the display cabinets and ate half of the Graf Vindicay's costume from the Rebus operation, and ate one of the Shobogun costumes from Gallifrey from the Invasion of Time. So he's had some real knocks, and he keeps on coming back. And I just absolutely salute this guy, because his enthusiasm is never short of off the scale. He's one of the nicest people you could meet. He will happily talk to you till the cows come home. So if you are a fan going in, you're not just going to see the exhibition. You will get to talk to, Neil will talk to you forever about the costumes and the props he's got, because he's so enthusiastic about them. He loves talking about them. He loves sharing them with people. He's just one of the most positive people you could possibly
And it's
have.
important to clarify that the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi, it's housed in his own home, isn't it?
It's in the basement. It's in the basement of his home in Allendale. And Allendale itself is a beautiful little place that you can go to. And as I say, he's my hero really for this year. He's my companion for the year, because, as I say, I just admire him so much, because he's giving back so much to the Doctor Who community. There are other people that are not. It wasn't the Talons Rat, though. He hasn't got. I don't know where the Talons Rat has ended up. I think it's probably in a skip where the Talons Rat rotted in a corner somewhere. But he gives so much back to Doctor Who fans. That's what's so great about Neil, is that, as I say, this is the only place at the moment in the whole country, possibly arguably the whole world, I don't know, where you can actually go and see so many original screen-used props and costumes. And so I salute him for that.
And we mentioned, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, how the museum has just finally reopened, which has also been an uphill battle for Neil. He was his location was used in the filming of Keith Barnfather's Lockdown Who DVD earlier on in the year, so that was a big boon to him. But what he really needed, what's always been his dream, is to bring Doctor Who and the fans closer together. We're within the plexiglass of the units that are dividing all these exhibits from one another at this location. He's trying to bring fans as close as they could possibly get to all of this classic series history. Although I think there is some new series stuff in there too, and to keep the spirit of that original.
No, I don't think there is. Actually, I could be wrong there.
He's got some Torchwood aliens in there, hasn't he? And I think he's got a couple of things. Yeah,
he might have.
Stuff. I think he'd kill me if I didn't acknowledge that.
Maybe. I'm not sure if he's got any new Who. I don't think he's got anything new Who at all. I could be wrong.
He told me that his mission was to have one item from every classic series story in there in some way, shape, or form. You've got to admire Neil's ambition, his tenacity, his commitment in the face of so much adversity. I don't think we have time to list all the things that have nearly happened to Neil on his journey here. It does seem to be the case. The word is getting out. More and more people, television, radio, newspapers, books. More and more people are speaking to Neil and are aware that the exhibition's there. And obviously, as restrictions continue to lift in stages all over the UK, and as the profile of the museum seems to grow, who knows what will happen in the future? I mean, the story about the mummy head from Pyramids of Mars that he recently took delivery of, it was just enchanting. And this whole story, Neil's entire story is incredibly romantic, and a story of a sort of triumph, really.
Absolutely. And the other thing that's great about Neil, and this is why we really do need to celebrate this as Doctor Who fans, because, as I say, the museum is literally one of a kind, and other people out there are getting the message as well of what Neil's trying to do. And that's why the mummy head was basically, Neil got the chance to go for this mummy head because the owner of it didn't want it to disappear into a private collection. They wanted it to go on display. And so people, and there are other exhibits within there that are the same. People have specifically said to Neil, you know, I want these stuff to go on display so other fans can see it. And that's very, very admirable. So the you know, this positive mentality is beginning to seep out to other collectors now who are, that's got to be a good thing for all of us. Because it grieves me how many items are locked behind closed doors that we don't even know where they are, let alone we will ever see them. And so I salute all the people that are trying to get that stuff out there so we can all literally go and see it at our leisure whenever we want to. You can go tomorrow if you want to and see the original mummy head from Pyramids of Mars, or Mestor, or the Garm, or the Black Scout Cyberman from Attack of the Time. You know, these are big things that you can go tomorrow to have a look at if you want to. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and I'm not going to knock anybody who goes to something like Time Fracture. You know, I'm curious myself, as you are, Barnaby. But I think if it's a toss-up, I think I'd rather go to the Museum of Classic Sci-Fi, see how I make Neil Cole. Yeah, great pick there, Simon. I think Neil has had, he's had a challenging year, and we do hope that 2022 brings him, obviously, that he pulls through with the terrible COVID that he's had, that he's suffered with, and that the museum continues to go from strength to strength next year. More people find out about it. And we're going to throw this open to you guys on social media, watching on YouTube, listening to the podcast, in the comments section, in the live chat. Let us know who of the candidates we've spoken about on this edition of the show do you want to be chosen as the Type 40 Companion of 2021? And also, let us know who you think we've missed. If there are people out there that you believe have made a big contribution, have made a difference to you in, as JT's right, it hasn't really been a boon year for the show or the intellectual property or however you look at it. But there are people who may have made it that little bit brighter for you. Let us know who they are if we've missed them.
Starry-eyed.
And we'll give them a bit of a kiss back. It's definitely... apart from you lot, of course. But that's the last of the companions' picks this time. If anybody got time for some pretty pictures, what do you think? I think it's
pretty pictures.
We've always got time for pretty pictures.
Always.
We checked in with what's going on. What's going on with the Prydonian, everybody? Check out this. Yes, because the Prydonian, as we know, he is the creator of CGI Daleks from across the length and breadth of both classic and new Who. The things that this guy can do with pixels is nobody's business. Well, it's coming to the end of the year, and he's grabbed them all together for a bit of a group shot and created this little beauty.
Oh,
here.
wow. The Weetabix one.
Oh, yes.
They look like toys.
Variations there. Yeah. Different Daleks from across the series and his own creations too there. He's been cheeky and snuck some of those in because obviously a very creative guy. Different colour schemes and different designs altogether in some cases. What do you think of this lot? I mean, we're always heaping praise upon him, aren't we, Barnaby? But this is really eye-catching, isn't it?
Yeah. Whenever he puts up something, and you show it on the show, it's just always fantastic. I love the little crab Dalek with two, lacking a plunger, but sort of dual wielding a couple of blasters there. Lovely.
He looks like a proper little shit, doesn't he? Have you seen the special weapons new Dalek towards the back?
Oh god, yeah. Oh yes, trying to fit it in with the modern series. Very, very cool.
Yes.
I love the red and silver. That red and silver one's very sexy.
Yeah.
I love that red and silver.
I think that's the one that Terry Nation himself owns. Sorry.
No, it's the Weetabix one that Terry Nation owned himself. The black and red one. That's the one.
I like the one with the legs.
Yeah.
I like the one with the lights. That's looking very bling.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Yes, great stuff as always from the Prydonian. And we've got another one here, which is just strictly TV Doctor Who that he's brought together here. This is the first and last of the classic series. This is
I do love an Imperial Dalek. They look so good.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I always loved that white and gold livery. It was odd. I mean, what made them think of white and gold? But it works so well.
It's beautiful.
Do the colours mean anything though to the
Well, they
Daleks?
don't mean-
So much of the classic show. I mean,
They don't mean anything other than they just were, certainly in that particular story, they were there to differentiate between the two factions of the Daleks. So they don't mean. I don't think there's any significance between why those colours were picked. If that's what you know, they just picked good colours. And but as I say, white and gold is just such an odd combination for them to pick for Daleks. It was quite daring, really, in those days.
I think that was something to do with John, because the original colours for the Remembrance of the Daleks were blue and silver and red and black, and John didn't like them.
Oh, that would have looked cool.
So hold on. So which would have been blue and silver, and which would have been red and black? Do you know?
No idea. I don't think. That's not in my mind. But I have got a picture of them as put together by somebody as to what they would have been. But yeah, it would have been blue and silver and red and black. And John said no, don't like that.
I suppose that wouldn't have looked so good on location, though, would it, Simon?
Well, it's interesting though. You know, you wonder why John would have said no, and it's not a criticism at all. It's just kind of getting into the what would make say no. Not.
I'd imagine there was a technical. I'd imagine there was a technical reason for it rather than one of personal taste.
Oh, I don't know. It could well have been personal taste, knowing John. And they say quite right.
You guys knew him, I didn't.
And to be honest, I think the white and gold looked much better than black and.
It's taller as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're taller.
I've got the picture somewhere. We'll show it on a future show.
Oh, please dig that out, because I'd love to see that myself. So out of interest, what was it? A pre-production drawing or something, painting or?
Yeah, it was while they were going through the I'm trying to. It's so long ago. It was while they were going through everything that the design came back. I can't remember what he told me. Sorry, it's a long time ago.
That's interesting, though. I had no idea.
Galaxy far, far away.
Because white and gold.
Yeah, that's it. It sounds like a Sith Dalek, doesn't it, Ian?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
And I think our last pretty picture of the show has to be this amazing cartoon, which
is it Leela?
Drew my attention. It's not Leela, I'm afraid, but it is this wonderful cartoon from Ian Cartoons, who's got a Twitter account. Go and look for Ian.
I'm looking for the Candyman. He's there somewhere. I know it.
Yes,
I've spotted a venom gun, a venom grub. How fantastic!
Ian tends to do this a lot, and you have to give him a big pat on the back for this, because he's very creative with it. And one thing I just want to say to Ian, big up to you as well, because although he's celebrating 58 years of the show here, he hasn't done anything with the it's only the proper Doctor Who series here from the first 26 years.
I've just
no Jodie.
I can see the Magna Beast from Andra's Eye, the Keeper of Traken's in there, a Monoptera. My God!
I've just seen Timonov from the Planet of Fire.
That's insane.
That is amazing. Does it sell these? Yeah, I would buy that.
I would buy that
as well. Yeah,
I'm with you.
I mean, obviously, it'll be out of date in 3 weeks, but great job, though, Ian. It's amazing. I mean, obviously, I'm a cartoonist. I'm an illustrator. I think Ian's fantastic at what he does. This is a brilliant piece of work.
Must have taken him ages.
I would, if you're watching this, who did you say his name is Ian?
Ian, yeah.
Right, if you are watching this, Ian, please do what you need to do is take out the 58, because as Dan says, it will be dated. So I've just spotted the Mara snake. So what we all want, we want a print of just all of those. Take out the 58 and just put them all in one big group. And seriously, you'll sell these by the bucket loads.
Actually, I've said to him before, do some jigsaws, Ian.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Maybe there's space for the diamond logo in the middle.
There's no Yaz. What's going on?
No, there's nothing from the. Where's this one? There's nothing there. He did get
a red Kang and a blue Kang.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a happy 58th anniversary to Doctor Who. Happy Doctor Who Day. # Doctor Who Day. Whichever you prefer. The Doctor Who has had another big birthday. I think they are all big birthdays when you get up this big. We're 2 years away from a really big one for the 60th, which, who knows where we'll be by then. Stay tuned to Type 40 and Type 40 Live as the future starts to reveal itself over the coming months. Thanks to everybody who's been watching along with us in the chat. Let's have one last look here. Blue Planet says the true spirit of Doctor Who lives in people like Neil Cole. Couldn't agree more. Crimply Doubloon says the Talons rat had a successful career alongside Kevin the germ. Alison Stevenson says, can someone please bottle Simon's delightful positivity and send me a crate? He's wonderfully cheerful and inspirational.
Oh,
Great Alison
Yeah.
there.
None of us count, do they? None of us
More
count.
praise.
Just
Simon.
Simon.
None of us count, no.
Damn
I have
it.
to think about putting him off, everybody.
Obviously, we're not positive enough for her. But there you
Lots
go.
of love here from Matthew Pounder towards Starry and the Queen. That sounds like a cop show, Sarah. You should get together, maybe.
Starry and Queen.
I was just about to say that was a cop show, wasn't it? Oh, no, that was somebody in the King. Somebody in the King, wasn't it? Kate Jackson.
Oh, but people are thinking, oh, God, Scarecrow and Mrs.
Scarecrow and Mrs. King. That's right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
God. Alison is torn between Starry's pick and Simon's choice. She's going to give it some thought, though. Yeah, go and think about it, everybody, and get back to us in the comments section or the Type 40 Facebook group, whatever.
Thank you, Garbage, and thank you to Problem Being. Thank you.
Yes, are those guys still around? Creamy Dalek, pretty picture time. Eggs. Lots of comments here. God, so
Jigsaws
many.
from Ian. Ian,
Old
Jigsaws. Come on, love.
The talent of Wayne Chiang says, I'm surprised that JNT didn't do a Hawaiian Dalek.
Well, actually, there was. Remind me to tell you about that. There was an Hawaiian Dalek.
We need to know that story.
Oh, bless it. Oh, I remember that. I remember that. I don't remember anything
Brilliant.
else.
People love Ian's cartoon, and I'd buy one 100%, says Blue Planet. If you're watching Ian, you got another punter there. That's 7,
Absolutely.
8, 9. Problem
Yeah.
being, I'd buy a jigsaw of that. Good call. Problem being, brilliant show. Thanks, panel, says Alison Stevenson.
Alison.
Great entertainment. You can come again. Thank you for being here, Alison. Happy Doctor Who Day. Great show, guys, from Cynix. Good night, chaps and chapettes.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
I used to-
Paul.
Thank you.
Aren't chapettes those kind of trousers that you get in leather with the arse cut out? No, maybe not.
That's a show entirely, Dan.
Ask Phil Collinson. He knows all about those.
JT, you were on fire.
Thank you, darling.
It's just the way he walks, yeah.
And you get some cream for that. Peter Harrington says, thank you,
That's
guys.
Yeah. With his trousers.
Always fun. Thank you for your company. Everybody
Thanks,
who's watched
Peter.
along with us.
I'll have to look
Facebook.
Peter up next time I'm in Liverpool. We'll go for a bevy.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit. And thank you to you guys for your company. Thanks to Charlotte Shields, Barnaby Jago, and friend.
Thank you.
And friend. Story-eyed girl and Fez.
All he needs is a handbag, and he is Thatcher.
Dennis or Margaret? Simon
Oh,
Horton with his
definitely
scarf.
Margaret. Definitely
Oh,
Margaret.
Margaret, she wore similar hats to these. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it just reminds me of that hairdo she used to have.
Thank you to JT, to Simon Horton and Ian David Diaz, the Mega Geek, and
Look at the time.
happy 58th anniversary to everybody out there watching. That is, it is late. That is it for us. From us this time. Keep watching for our Village of the Angels review out on YouTube and the podcatchers. That's coming next. Happy Doctor Who Day. Happy 58th anniversary to Doctor Who. And thanks to all of you for sharing it with Type 40 Live this evening. We'll speak to you again soon. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
And all that.
No, stop so abruptly.